You really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/bloodpressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
It's Meals on Wheels. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. That's what you've earned here tonight.
Forget about the crowds, the size of the school, their fancy uniforms, and remember what got you here. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the difference between winning and losing.
It's down to the wire with Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
Oh, Petey! Oh, Petey!
On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello! I got to stop doing that because I'm afraid I'm going to scare people away.
just by the introduction of this show, it would just scare the hell out of me. So I will not do that anymore. I'll have to figure out a new intro of command of this wonderful voice. But as you guys know, this is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. You can call us, yes, at 631-965-4990. You can go to our website. How do you do that? Well, it's very simple. You go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app by going to iOS, WWSRN, or you can go to Andrew, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy Petey, what's going on, my friend? Are you having fun this weekend? Did you have fun this weekend? Or did you lose your tidy whities in a war?
I don't have tidy whities, and I did not fight a war, so both of those contexts are a little off.
Well, I've thought differently of your past background, and we all do know. We do know that you do like tidy whities.
I said I wore them. I said I wore them when I was younger. Like, before I was a teenager.
Well, he loves his tidy whities. What can I say? Anyways,
I don't own tidy whities.
Don't lie. You were just wearing Scooby-Doo ones. I told you that. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get one of those tidy whitey face masks. Because of COVID-19, it's gonna be shaped like tidy whities. It's gonna have all his different favorite Scooby-Doo characters and some SpongeBob, which you love too. Right? You love that TV show?
I like it. I don't love it. My youngest brother loved it for a while. So.
He's a liar. Anyways.
No, he did love it for a while.
Anyways, guys, it was a great weekend for sports and really for football. And we're going to have a great show lined up for you guys today at 7:15. We will be talking to North Carolina A&T power forward recruit Duncan Powell. He's going to be on. We tried to get him on last week. Had a little bit of problems with his phone, but this week we're going to have him on. I watched a couple of clips. This kid could absolutely fly. He could play. He has game, man. He's got game. All right, so we're going to have him on a show. We're going to have Mark on early. We're going to have Mark it up at 6:30 because he's got a meeting. He is very important now. For some reason, Mark Kelly is the most important man in creation known to man. What do you think about that, Speedy?
I mean, that's a pretty high standard.
Well, it's not high standard for me, but Mark Kelly is a superstar now, so he gets on all these business meetings, and we mean absolutely nothing to him. So anyways, I want to get into the NFL this weekend, and there was a lot of games that stood out to me, but the game here in New York, the Giants had an opportunity to gain a game over on the Eagles, especially losing the game a couple of weeks ago against the Eagles, where if Evan Ingram made that catch, the Giants win the game. And the Giants probably right now would be in first place in the division. Mm-hmm. But they lost the game. Evan Ingram didn't catch the ball. But yesterday it was completely different. It was a completely different team, a completely different game. Joe Judge took over. And he's really solidifying himself as a head coach for the New York Giants. A lot of Giant fans, they didn't know who he was, including yours truly. I couldn't stand the fact that the Giants brought in a guy that nobody's ever heard of. He was I guess, a wide receiver coach over there with the Patriots for almost 7 or 8 years. And now all of a sudden he gets a head coaching job because the Giants couldn't get Matt Rule, and he has completely changed his team. You got guys like Logan and Bradford who came to this team. Bradbury, came to this team this year as free agents, and they say they love it over there. The chemistry over there, the teamwork, the coaching, everything right there is where they expect it to be. So the Giants right now are playing good football. Daniel Jones, even though he really didn't make any significant passes yesterday, he ran 64 yards. He barely threw. But the Giants were very impressive defensively. And I said this last week, and I'll say it again. The Giants' defense is probably, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, have been in the top 5 when it comes to pass rush, run stop, everything, yards per carry, everything that you've seen defensively for the New York Giants. Slowly but surely, you're seeing this team, this defense solidify itself. And if you remember the good times when the Giants were a really good organization, I'm talking about the late 80s and early 90s with the greats, yes. Who am I talking about?
Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence Taylor and?
Bill Parcells.
And the defensive players, Ernie Banks.
Carl Banks.
I'm sorry, Carl Banks. Yeah, you
Eric
have
Carson, yeah.
Eric Carson. But you're a Giant fan. You should be speaking on this. But the New York Giants right now are playing good football, and when the Giants' defense is working on all cylinders, the Giants are dangerous. They're as good as any team right now defensively in football. You could say whatever you want, but go look at the stats. The stats would show you that the Giants are playing great football.
Yeah, and they're getting contributions from more players than just stars, too. Their corner depth is a lot better than I would have thought. You have a guy like Darnay Holmes, the rookie corner, who's playing very well. A guy, when we had Devin Kirkwood on, that he was talking about as being a good rookie corner, and he's played very well so far. They have Isaac Yadam, who stepped up. Some of their linebackers that weren't supposed to be in this mix at the start of the season, who's played very well. We knew the front three was going to be very good with the interior. As you said many times, Leonard Williams could be a Pro Bowler this year.
He is going to be a Pro Bowler.
He's been that good. Dexter Lawrence is phenomenal. But it's their outside rush and their linebackers that have been very impressive as well. And that's amidst trading Marcus Golden, too, who was their best player last year. They traded him a couple of weeks ago, and they're still getting good pass rush as well, too.
Yeah, and I like what Dexter Lawrence is as a player. He's been... in the last 2 seasons, he's looked like the player that a lot of people did not like at number 16, 17 that the Giants drafted 2 years ago in the Daniel Jones draft. And the Giants had not 1, not 2, but 3 first-round draft picks. Baker, and we'll get into the whole DeAndre Baker situation right now, and it's very interesting moving forward with that kid. But when you're looking at the Giants right now, Dexter Lawrence looks like a player. Even Daniel Jones, say whatever you want, and maybe he didn't make a lot of throws, and he hasn't looked good for the last couple of weeks. He's winning games, and winning games is what you do when it comes to winning. Winning Super Bowls. You might not show up on a statistic table, but if you're winning games, nobody gives a crap what you're throwing, how many yards you throw, how many touchdowns you have. That's why everybody keeps taking shots at Lamar Jackson. If he's winning games, who the hell cares what his statistics are? When it comes to it. You look at Joe Flacco. Was Joe Flacco one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL? The answer is no. But he went on one of the greatest runs in NFL history as a quarterback. And he won a Super Bowl. And what did he get? He got a lot of money. He got a lot of money from the Baltimore Ravens because he won them a Super Bowl practically by himself.
As a 4 seed.
And yes, they had a good defense, but that wasn't. Their defense was not looked at as the strength of their team. It was really their offense and what Joe Flacco was doing in the playoffs.
Right.
With Anquan Bolden and all the different players that he had.
Yeah, even that Super Bowl, too. Their defense almost blew the lead. It was 34-29 at one point after the Ravens were up, I think, 28-6 or something like that. They remember the whole power outage, and the defense almost blew that game, but were able to hang on, and Flacco was tremendous against a very talented Niners defense.
And that's why you get the money. It doesn't matter what you're supposed to be. You could be Trevor Lawrence, you could be Justin Fields, you could be Sam Darnold or Josh Allen. You could be you can have all the talent in the world. Until you win a Super Bowl, until you win, it doesn't matter what your statistics show. And that's what everybody says. You want to go to the Hall of Fame, you got to win Super Bowls. You got to win championships. That's what it's all about. It's all about winning. So that and I think right now where the Giants are slowly but surely leading is their defense is starting to take over. If Saquon comes back, if they decide to move on from Saquon, they could do so. But they could do a lot of other different things. They absolutely could. And the thing about the Giants that really is astonishing to me is really the coaching of Joe Judge. What Joe Judge has done as a coach for their team, and really what they have done as a team is they're actually playing for him. That you've seen over the last couple of years, different coaches that the Giants have had, they have not played for their coach. It's completely different now. I think Joe Judge is the right guy, the right fit for the players, and they love the guy. So the Giants are in a good situation right now. They have the coach. Now they got to figure out if Daniel Jones is the quarterback to get them to the promised land like Eli Manning, or do they search for a quarterback in the draft? We have our first caller of the day, Jeff from Tampa. What's going on, my friend?
I can't even believe you're even arguing Joe Flacco's any good. He stinks.
No, I know.
The Jets, he stinks.
Listen, all I'm saying is it's all about winning championships. And Joe Flacco, he'll be remembered as what he did all the way to the Super Bowl and knocking off the 49ers.
The old version of Joe Flacco is pretty good. The current version of Joe Flacco should be playing for the Cowboys. That's how bad he is.
Yeah, he's not good. And we all know that he's not good. But I will say this. When you look at the big picture of where Joe Flacco was and what Joe Flacco has done, he won a Super Bowl. You could say whatever you want about him as a player, what he's doing right now in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl, and that's why he got that big, huge contract, one of the biggest contracts in NFL history. Well, the reason why was going on that run and winning that Super Bowl for the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm not saying Joe Flacco's a Hall of Famer because he's not, but there are quarterbacks that we've seen over the years. All you need is to have one of those runs, and Nick Foles being one of them, and you can win a Super Bowl, and you'll be remembered for that, and for not only from the organization, but for what you did in the Super Bowl as a player for the rest of your career. So, but go ahead. I know you wanted to talk about the DeAndre Baker thing.
Yeah, I wanted to know how Speedy feels about his team just giving away their first-round pick.
Well, what he was supposed to be charged with before was something that
right,
we didn't think
but
would
in
be
this country, it's innocent until proven guilty.
Okay.
And they could have just left him on the commissioner's exempt list. They didn't have to cut him, so they essentially drafted him and gave him away.
All right. Yeah, no, I understand, Jeff. I'm not denying that. But, again, they've had corners that have been playing well this year, so it doesn't seem like it's a big loss for them. We'll never know what Baker becomes with another scheme or another team. And you got to.
You don't think giving away a first-round pick is a big loss?
Well,
giving it away?
No, it's true. It's just as bad as drafting it poorly too. But remember, Baker wasn't that good as it was, so I don't really think it's a downgrade.
No, this is worse than drafting poorly.
Yeah, it's a similar thing to drafting poorly when you don't know if there is an
No, this is much worse. At least you can say, "Hey, man, we tried." When you draft poorly, this is, "Hey, man, we gave up."
Bingo! Okay. But again, with the corner depth that they've had this year and the defensive scheme they've had, I don't really miss him as much. If he develops well on another team, congratulations. All right, maybe it made it work. That doesn't mean he was a big guarantee to develop on the Giants in this new system.
I mean, this is a pick they could have used on somebody else. They
I know.
are literally just giving someone away.
Jeff, I'm not denying they botched the pick. I didn't love the pick either at the time. I'm just saying.
I like the pick.
I know you did.
This is as big of a joke as the Minnesota Vikings not getting the pick in on time, so they forfeited. That's what this is. They forfeited their draft pick.
Okay, that's fair. But again, it hasn't hurt them in terms of their current state. I don't think DeAndre Baker on the Giants defense is going to make that much of a difference either way.
I mean, that defense is already pretty good. It could make it a really, really good defense to have a first.
I don't think that would sway it that much. I don't. Because they have corners that are playing well.
Because corners don't matter in the NFL.
They do. I'm saying the Giants have had good young corners.
But how do you know that? What he's saying is, well, how do you know that DeAndre Baker doesn't become a superstar? Then you lose a superstar for nothing. That's what he's saying. It doesn't matter how good Logan is. It doesn't matter how good Bradbury is. In the end, those guys are veteran players. This guy, DeAndre Baker, is 20 years old, 21 years old? He's a kid.
He's probably 23 or 24.
He's still a kid. He's still a baby. And he still hasn't even really developed yet. And when he gets the opportunity to develop, and if he develops on another team, you'll regret it. The Giants will regret just dropping him and not putting him on the exempt list and maybe getting something for him if they didn't want him to play for the organization anymore.
If the other corners, though, were getting torched, outside of Bradbury and Ryan, like you were saying, if they were getting torched, I'd understand that. But
Logan Ryan got a one-year contract. What are you going to say when Logan Ryan is gone next year because he goes somewhere else, right? And then you have nobody at corner, and then you're bitching about not having anyone at corner.
But the other corners have played well, is what I'm saying.
Right now, it might work right now, but you gave away 3 more years of this kid. Gave it away.
And again, if the other corners regress next year, I'll maybe look back at it. But right now they're playing well where I don't think DeAndre Baker, whether he's the number 2 corner or number 3 corner in a regular rotation, because obviously Bradbury's the number 1, I don't know if it makes a drastic difference in terms of making the defense that much better or that much worse either way, depending on if he would have fit that scheme, which we don't know.
I mean, a terrible move like this, and it is terrible, even though you're trying to sugarcoat it, right? Does this make Giants fans hate Gettleman more or like him more?
Well, we knew he was already had some question marks as it was, but again, he's made up for it with other good players drafted on defense. So the team defense as a whole is still deep and deeper than I would have expected. They're well coached, so he's made up for it in other areas. I don't love Gettleman, but I'm not going to say he's like one of the 5 worst GMs in the NFL right now.
I mean, listen, I think it's a terrible mistake. Like a terrible mistake.
I know, but you were taking shots at DeAndre Baker. Oh, look who they drafted. This guy's going to go to jail for 10 years. Now all of a sudden he gets the whole thing gets dropped, and now the Giants made a huge mistake. So you're right, Jeff. I
was really only doing that because I wanted to crap on Speedy that day.
I know.
What I do. It's just fun, right?
I know.
But, I mean, they could have left him on the commissioner's exempt list, right? But because they did that for, the conduct unbecoming thing or whatever, the player's contract. But they could have just left him on the commissioner's exempt list until the whole thing played out. I mean, This dude had been saying, listen, to his credit, this dude had been saying he didn't do it the whole time. And listen, everyone that's guilty says they didn't do it. But there was no need to rush like Gettleman did to get him off your team.
Gettleman has made mistakes. You see what Gettleman has done. But if you look at what this defense has turned into since Gettleman has taken back over the team, and he didn't spend a lot of money on this defense. He didn't throw away money that we've seen Jerry Reese did. He took over this defense, completely changed everything, brought Leonard Williams in, drafted some pieces like Dexter Lawrence, and added some free agents like Logan Ryan, which I'll tell you this right now, the biggest pickup the Giants had in the offseason was Logan Ryan. He's fantastic. He is a fantastic player. He really is. And if the Giants are smart, he should be number one. He should be the number one guy they sign next in the offseason. He is a very important piece for the Giants moving forward if they have any chance in the future for a Super Bowl.
I wonder, do you guys know what the implications are for the Giants' salary cap with DeAndre Baker? Do they still have to carry his whole rookie contract now for the next 2 years?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I really don't know. Speedy, look that up. I mean, that's your job. But I don't know. But the whole interesting thing with DeAndre Baker now is there are a lot of teams now looking at him. He's really a free first-round draft pick. He is available right now. He's still a young guy. I know he's a little wet behind the ears and all the different things that have happened to him in the last year and a half. But now this kid who was a shutdown corner in Georgia, he is a free agent. He can go wherever he wants, and he can really solidify a defense for the very, very near future.
I mean, maybe this will be the blueprint for Trevor Lawrence to get out of playing for the Jets. Maybe he'll just catch a gun charge and get released.
You're an idiot. You're so stupid. But
yeah, they have a dead cap of 4.75 for this year, which I expected. But after that, it's only 2.83.
He's 23 years old. He's still a baby. This kid's a baby.
So they're carrying $7 million worth of dead cap space on this kid.
Right, but I knew they would this year. I didn't know if they would after that.
When they could have just kept him on the exempt list, and then when all of this, was done, because they're still going to have to pay him. He got guaranteed money as a first-round draft pick. So I mean, that is a bonehead move. Why not just keep him on your roster until it plays out?
Well, we'll have to see how they spend that money too, and if that affects them from getting a big player or missing out on a big player. It has nothing to do with spending
the money. They're paying him anyways. Is the point?
No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm judging where that money is lost in whatever contracts they end up signing.
Yeah, but here's another thing. Speaking like getting off the New York Giants and going into the Eagles. Carson Wentz, this is another bad season for Carson Wentz. Yes, he doesn't have the weapons that everybody thought they were going to have this year. The wide receivers are hurt. The injury reports are just piling up, not only for the Eagles, but so many different teams. 49ers being another team that's just compiled with unbelievable injuries. So you look at Carson Wentz. Do we see Jalen Hurts this year? Do we have the opportunity to maybe see the future quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, or do they just believe Jalen Hurts is another Tatum Hill, a guy that is only going to play for certain? But why would you draft a quarterback in the second round if you really don't think that he's going to be a starting quarterback for your organization moving forward? It doesn't make any sense. So obviously, if they really believe that Jalen Hurts is going to be the future quarterback of this team because Carson Wentz just can't cut it, well, then let's see him on the field. Let's see what he can do. Let's see his development.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's the NFC East, and they're an abomination and an absolute embarrassment to the NFL, and they shouldn't even be in the league. None of them. The story worthwhile in the NFC East is the fact that Alex Smith is even playing. That's a miracle.
Oh, it's incredible. just give him comeback player of the year right now. He's incredible.
He's played great. The problem is
the
he's
rest
playing
of
for a
it's an
crappy team.
abomination. They don't. The rest of it's an abomination. Like they shouldn't. They don't even deserve a playoff spot this year. It's terrible.
Listen, I'll say this again. Whoever comes, if the Giants get out of the NFC East and they make it into the playoffs, that defense could surprise a lot of people and win a game. I really do believe it. That defense could put pressure, cause a lot of havoc on the inside. They really could. 4-3, Leonard Williams has been killing teams, getting inside with the guards, and he's been really he's playing at the top of his game. I haven't seen Leonard Williams play this well since his rookie season with Muhammad Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson on both sides of the line. I mean, we saw what Leonard Williams could be, but now that he's playing in a 4-3 defense, which we've been saying that he would fit best in a 4-3, just like I believe Quinn Williams will be a beast in the 4-3. If you think Leonard Williams is a beast,
it goes back to the Jets, doesn't it?
Well, I'm just telling you. I'm just saying that the Jets made a huge mistake. Now, you're really putting their players in the best position to succeed.
Which is weird because Greg Williams is always a 4-3 guy with the Rams and with the Saints, so it's kind of weird he wouldn't switch.
It doesn't make any sense, but now you're seeing Leonard Williams slowly but surely develop. And Leonard Williams is a Pro Bowl player this year. He'll make the Pro Bowl this year. You watch. He's going to make the Pro Bowl. I mean, he's one of the league's best right now in tackles by yards lost. I mean, he's been very, very good. And the Giants defense, I'll say it again. In the last 4 weeks, tell me besides maybe 3 or 4 teams who's been better than the New York Giants in the last 4 weeks. And the answer is very few. The Giants defense has been very, very good. Yes, they're not playing top-end teams. If you go and look at the 4 teams that they beat, they weren't amongst the league's best. But you're playing in the NFL, and you can cut a team down for a certain amount of points and dominate the line of scrimmage. It's pretty impressive with a bunch of young players.
The teams play down to teams
Well,
all the time,
I'm
too.
not saying the Giants' defense is no good, right? So don't really take it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But because they have played some good teams pretty well. They played the Buccaneers very tight and very well, and that was a hotly contested game. But don't you think playing in that division could certainly hide a lot of the warts that could be on that Giants defense? Because they are playing inferior competition most weeks.
Right, but they're the only defense in that division that has played above their standard this year. The Eagles have been down. Some of it's injuries, okay, but they've been down with players that normally, especially their pass rushers that normally play well that haven't. We all know about Dallas's defense, how terrible it is, and Washington's defense probably has been about where it should be, but it hasn't been the big leap like we expected for the young players either.
But the defense isn't playing a defense. The defense is playing all those terrible offenses that are in the NFC East.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but so is everyone else. So are the other defenses, is what I'm saying. And the other defenses haven't been these top-tier defenses like the Giants have been.
But this is my point, Speedy, is they're playing such garbage that they look better than they probably are.
Which is fair. I'm not denying, like, if you're saying the Giants are a defense that's ranked at the end of the top 10, I'm not going to say they're better than a team like in the NFC West or something that has a similar level defense. But what I'm saying is the other three teams in that division haven't had defense that have performed to their standards, and they still have to play. They still get to play all those weak offenses too.
Like, let's be honest though, right? Like the Rams defense is probably better than the Giants defense.
Yes.
But they're probably statistically at the end of the year going to look worse because they play Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson 4 times a year.
Right. That's my point. You're gonna if they're close, there's gonna be examples of that for sure. Same with the NFC South and other good divisions like that, the AFC North.
Speaking about the Rams, and I want to go through some of these games that really stood out, and we're gonna have Mark Kelly join us in just a few moments. But I will say this: Jacksonville versus Green Bay yesterday. If you're not a Green Bay Packers, if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you should worry, because if you can't dominate the Jacksonville Jaguars against a 4th or 5th string quarterback, that's sad. That is sad. And I'll tell you this right now: the Green Bay Packers the last 3 weeks have not looked good. Aaron Rodgers has not looked good the last 3 weeks. He was up for MVP. To me, it was either him or Russell Wilson. He is completely out of the discussion now as the MVP of the National Football League. He really isn't. Right now, it's Russell Wilson, borderline Russell Wilson.
It's probably Patrick Mahomes right now, or one of the running backs. You could give it to Cook or somebody like that, too.
I mean, Russell Wilson, and that's another thing. Russell Wilson, the Seattle Seahawks, where they were one of the hottest teams in football. They were one of only 2 teams that were undefeated until they lost against Kyler Murray on Sunday Night Football. I will say this. Now you're starting to see the deficiencies of this defense. Seattle's defense is horrendous. Their secondary is abysmal. And everybody keeps talking about Jamal Adams, and I'll say it again on Weapons Hot, and I'll say it over and over again. What the Jets did is they got rid of a cancer. And yes, he was the best player on their team, but they got rid of a cancer, and he went to a team that's already arguing with Pete Carroll on the sidelines. Go watch the videos. He is already arguing with Pete Carroll. This guy is a cancer. He's just like Odell Beckham. And you want to know something? It was really, if you look at what Joe Douglas did, it was, to me, it shows you why I think Joe Douglas can run this organization if the Johnson family can let him control it. The guy got 2 first-round draft picks, a 3rd round, and Bradley McDougall, which they can trade in the offseason and get something back for him. You could get potential 4 draft picks, and 3 of them high draft picks, guys that could solidify your team for one guy that's a cancer that's going to want $90 million. So, and it really is, as much as he says he's the best safety in football, he hasn't been. And I know he's been hurt a lot this year, but even when he's in the game, and they said it best on Weapons Hot yesterday, the team plays better without Jamal Adams on the defense. You know, it's true. Go look at the statistics. When Jamal's in it, when he's in the game, their defense is that much worse. So I don't know. I'm not saying Jamal Adams isn't a good player, because I've always liked Jamal Adams, but he's a cancer. He's just like the Antonio Browns and the Odell Beckhams. He is not a guy that you can honestly trust and say, you know what, he's going to solidify my secondary. He's going to make my secondary that much better because he's made it that much worse.
Always comes back to the Jets, doesn't it?
It's not about the Jets. I'm just speaking about what I've seen. Seattle, if it doesn't bother you as a Seattle fan, there's a lot of Seattle fans here in Long Island, by the way. Okay? If it doesn't bother you that if you're watching Russell Wilson and if you depend on Russell Wilson going into the playoffs and this NFC with the talent is incredible, you're going to be knocked out in the first round.
Not just the NFC, your own division.
You're going to get knocked out in the first round.
If Seattle gets knocked out in the first round, or if they get knocked out early, it's not going to be because of Jamal Adams. It's because it's going to be because it's going to be because that front 4 can't rush the passer. Right. They are horrible at getting to the quarterback. Horrible. They're last in the
Their
league.
secondary is the worst. They're right now breaking records. This secondary could be the worst secondary in NFL history by the end of the season. As crazy it may sound, this secondary is giving up more points than any secondary in history. In history.
Well, they're not. Well, they're not getting any help from that front 4, right? Because if the quarterback has all the time in the world to throw, everyone is going to complete passes. Everyone is going to complete passes. You can't cover guys forever. You know, you only have a few seconds to cover people. They need a better pass rush to help out that secondary.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you could stand back there for 10 and 12 seconds and complete
probably
passes.
could.
And you're terrible.
How do you know I'm terrible? How do you know I'm terrible? I'm in good shape.
Just looking at you, you know you have no athletic ability.
Are you kidding me? I have no athletic ability? I have a tremendous amount of athletic ability. What are you talking about?
That's what it comes down to. That's what will help the secondary. If they could even get to the quarterback to make the quarterback have to make quicker decisions, the secondary wouldn't have that many problems.
Before we go to the break, what did you think about DeAndre Hopkins' unbelievable catch yesterday?
Yeah, I've been saying this for a long time now, right? That the Arizona Cardinals are an actual threat. An actual threat. People forget that last year they lost 5 games last year in the last 30 seconds of each game. 5.
That's a really good team.
That's incredible. Mm-hmm. That's an incredible amount of close games. So they were competitive last year, and now by adding DeAndre Hopkins, it's put them over the top, and they are a really good football team now.
Oh, and Kyler and Kyler Murray. Everybody, I don't know what people are saying. Kyler Murray has looked worse this year. Josh was saying. I think Josh said that.
Yeah.
He's out of his mind. Kyler Murray has looked better, way better this year.
Kyler Murray must have heard him this week.
Well, whoever Josh is, and I have no idea who that, he should be banned from watching sports because I don't know what he's seeing.
I mean, Kyler Murray has gotten tremendously better, and this guy's going to be an MVP candidate for many, many years to come. He's fantastic to watch, and the way he finds
very quietly have drafted well the last couple of years because Kyler Murray's been really good, and Isaiah Simmons is playing really well on the defensive side of the ball too.
He had one of the best individual efforts I saw in one of the plays in that game. He almost sacked the quarterback that he turned around and tackled the guy on the screen pass. I think it was Singletary.
No, everybody knew he was athletic. Everybody knew he had this ability to do the things that he could do on the field.
And he made that great, and I forget whether it was week 4 or week 5. It was earlier in the season, but he made that great interception late in the game to seal the game against the Seahawks.
That was week 7. Yeah, that was right at the end of the game. And he was actually a substitute on that time because they weren't playing him the whole game. He came in for, I think, Jordan Hicks, who got hurt in that game, and he made a tremendous read on that.
Yeah. And
Arizona is much better than people give them credit for.
Oh, Arizona is going to be a dangerous team. They make the playoffs. They're going to be scary good, and their defense is, even though they lost Chandler Jones for the whole season because of his I think he teared his bicep.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity still with this team that they get. The only thing that worries me is their offensive line. I still don't trust their offensive line to hold up in the playoffs against some of these defenses. Even Green Bay, who likes to blitz and use so many different blitz packages, I think they'll have problems against teams like Green Bay because they'll show things that they haven't shown in the regular season, and it's going to throw them off defensively. And they're a young team. The Arizona Cardinals, besides maybe two of the Larry Fitzgeralds of the world and maybe DeAndre Hopkins, who's still fairly young. I mean, this is a young team, and a young team with a young coach in Kingsbury, who I'm not a big fan of, but having Kyler Murray just makes you that much better. I mean, Kyler Murray he's fantastic.
I don't know how you can say you're not a fan of Kingsbury, though. You might not like his style per se, but that team was absolute garbage. When Josh Rosen was there and they had no offensive line and they were getting killed, then they bring out in Kingsbury, and look at how he's transformed the team.
No, he's changed the team offensively, and bringing in a quarterback, a stud like Kyler Murray, makes him look that much better. I mean, he decided to get rid of his first year, 1 year, the ninth pick in the first round in Rosen, and he had nobody to throw to. They got rid of him, and they got the number 1 pick, and they took a chance because if this completely bombed in their faces, a lot of people would have looked at them. It set this franchise back for 10 or 12 years. They made the right choice. Kyler Murray is the real deal. He is going to be a Russell Wilson-esque, maybe even better than Russell Wilson when all's said and done. I mean, he's a little smaller. You could tell he's a little small. I don't care what he says. He's the same size. He's not the same size as Russell Wilson. But the ability that this kid could do, behind the line of scrimmage, the way he runs and finds the seams the way he does, and he can throw on the run very accurately, he's way better than Baker Mayfield. Light years better than Baker Mayfield from that Oklahoma offense. I mean, he's fantastic. I can't say Kyler Murray is an MVP candidate this year.
Absolutely.
He absolutely is. He's been fantastic. In the end, we might be talking about Kyler Murray as the quarterback with Patrick Mahomes that he's going to be fighting off. Because if Kyler Murray somehow squeaks in the playoffs, as the number 1 seed in their division, I give the MVP to Kyler Murray. So it's fantastic what you're seeing what some of these young quarterbacks are doing. Lamar Jackson last year, but teams are starting to figure him out. But Kyler Murray, there's nothing to figure out. The kid has a tremendous arm, can throw with power, make every single throw. You saw he can make every single throw. And he can run, which he's one of the fastest quarterbacks in the NFL, if not the fastest quarterback in the NFL.
And he hasn't had a bad game.
He's a running
yet.
back that can throw.
Mm-hmm. And he hasn't had a bad game yet. He's been very consistent. I think the worst game he had was against Carolina in week 4, and he still had, I think, 225 yards and a lot on the ground, too.
He's been fantastic. I don't know why anybody would take a shot at Kyler Murray saying that he is taking a step back. I think, if anything, he's taken 6 or 7 steps forward. I mean, I think he's an MVP guy. I don't know what Josh was talking about the other day. I have no idea what he was saying. He was completely wrong, and I love Josh.
Clearly, one of the dumbest takes you could have. I don't even know what the whole take is, but the fact that he's even bashing Arizona makes it.
No, he didn't bash.
He wasn't bashing Arizona. He said Kyler Murray looks like he's regressed a little from last year, which is not true at all.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
He's gotten so much better. He's gotten so
This
much better.
dude shouldn't even be allowed to have eyes to watch football if that's what he thinks.
Well, he's a fan, and that's his opinion, but he's wrong. Kyler Murray has been as good as any quarterback in the NFL right now, and Arizona's got themselves a franchise quarterback. You see it right now, and if he could stay healthy like Russell Wilson has done, even with his size, if Kyler Murray can stay healthy, Arizona will be one of those teams every single year that they'll be talking about making the playoffs and being a threat in the NFC. So, fantastic. Jeff, thank you for calling, bud.
Yeah, always appreciate your time, guys. It's always fun, and I'm glad there was no Cowboys talk this time.
Well, there's nothing to talk because the Cowboys didn't play this week.
Well, but they're, I mean, right? But I mean, think about it. Cowboys fans are spinning this as like, oh, at least we didn't lose this week. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how stupid.
Game.
Jeff, you didn't see it on Twitter? They lost to the bye week.
I mean, they probably should. It's unbelievable, that team. It's it's not a logo, it's a rating, boys.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, when you look at the Cowboys are, I think they're in a lot more worse trouble than we're even mentioning. So they don't.
I mean, they're the perfect team. Their team perfectly represents what their fan base is. Trash.
Jeff, thank you, man. Thank you for calling. Jeff from Tampa, ladies and gentlemen. Well. And you know what? He gave us some good insight. He made some good points. Some of his points are a little outlandish, but that's Jeff. Oh, we got a little dum. There we go. A little bit of sound effects. But when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we'll do this early in the show. We call this segment Mark It Up. So we will have Mark Kelly on the show when we come back from break here on Down to the Wire.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
As you guys know, this is Down to the Wire. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app, ladies and gentlemen. Go to iOS. All you have to do on iOS is put in WWSRN, and on Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, ladies and gentlemen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have our important guy. We finally got him on. What's going on with you, Speedy? You control the board. I'm controlling this. You control the sound. Why do you screw up all the time? I'm even helping you out do your job, and you're still screwing up. I don't know what's wrong with you, Speedy. Anyways, we have, we call this segment Mark It Up. We have Mark Kelly on the line, so Speedy, hit it.
This is Mark It Up.
All right, Mark, what would you like to talk about today?
Hey, guys, how you doing? Sometimes, when you talk to Speedy, I think of Snoopy and Woodstock. I like Woodstock. Always gets hitting on the head with the football and crushed with the football, and just that he's so much smaller than the bigger, more dominant QB. That's the image I get with you two.
Well,
But
here's what bothers me about Speedy. I told him I'm going to show him how to use the board and, completely tail out of the music, and then he doesn't even shut the music off when I'm taking the board down. And then I put the board back up for you to speak because you're connected to the board, and I still hear the music. I mean, that's his job, and I'm trying to help him. So it really annoys me when he doesn't concentrate. He concentrates to detail. But what would you like to talk about?
Yeah, so I saw you. I did see you last night. I caught the end of CJ's show. Of the Jets, the hot wire or the hot
weapons hot
mic or whatever. Yeah, but I think the Jets did the rest of the NFL a favor. They didn't have to play yesterday, but as far as the AFC East, what took them so long to get this good? I mean, you said one of your arguments against Brady was that the AFC East was horrible for many years, and it was. And now, Buffalo and Miami's playing really well. And Buffalo, I mean, that game with Arizona yesterday was amazing, how it ended. And I tell you, Arizona is a sleeper. They could come out of the NFC because they do so many things that are hard to prepare against. And I like Kyler Murray in the fact that even if you prepare for what he's going to do, he has enough physical attributes to beat you anyway. And I think that's what I liked about Lamar Jackson, is just that he hasn't been able to have postseason success like he does in the regular season. But, watching the games yesterday, and I told you I always liked Tua. I really do think he's going to be very good.
I don't.
He's just naturally a winner, and you can see even when he doesn't really play well, or
he hasn't played. Hold on, Mark. Mark, he hasn't played well all season. He's come in for 3 games. Go look at his numbers. Yeah, well, it wasn't because of him why they won those games. Okay. It was their defense.
Okay. There are a number of reasons why you win games. Okay, and they were 1-2 or 2-3 with Fitzpatrick, and I think they would have won these games with Fitzpatrick anyway because they're clearly getting better. But in the first game against the Rams, Tua played awful. I mean, Los Angeles turned the ball over like 4 times inside their own 10-yard line. Miami got outgained by like almost 350 yards. So that was a game where they shouldn't have won, but there was like a Tim Tebow win. Okay. But the last 2 games, I mean, definitely last week against Arizona, and then this past week, Tua's played very well, and he's going to play well because he's a good player, and he gives everybody he plays with confidence. There's something about him that his teammates pick up on. It's probably because he's really confident, and from what I know of him, he's a really intelligent, outstanding young guy. But I think his teammates just picked that up. That's why they made that move when they did. And
they made the move because of what Herbert was doing and what Burrows was doing.
Yeah,
I absolutely believe that. Why would they take Fitzpatrick out when, first of all, statistically, Fitzpatrick was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. In the first 3 games, first 5 games, his numbers were right there. I mean, as good as any quarterback in the league. Why would you take him out when he was playing good football?
Because you know that their plan wasn't to go beyond this year.
Of course.
They wanted to get to it as quick as they could. And they were going to do that as soon as he was healthy. Now, because of his hip injury, they didn't know when to gauge that. If he didn't get hurt last year, obviously, and if he didn't have a hip injury, they would have played him from the beginning. But that was their biggest concern about him. And they always wanted him to play. Look, Fitzpatrick is what he is. You know it as well as I do. I mean, he was the last guy to get the winning season, for crying out loud. But he has great moments, and he has moments that you want to kill him. So I think there was a wall, a limit that they had to touch, and they knew that, even though he played very well at the beginning of this season. And I think they all along wanted him to get in, wanted Tua to get in. And
Well, that's fine, and I just don't think I don't care what anybody says. And Carl says Tua is solid, Errol, and that's your opinion. I don't really think he's any good. I think he went to the perfect team. Brian Flores, who I think. First of all, being that Tua is from Hawaii, he likes the hot climate. He the superstardom, who he is, coming from Alabama. His jersey was number one in the league. So I understand when you look at the big picture. And hold on, we're gonna put somebody. I want to put this guy on, but Mike, we're gonna put you on. Call up after mark it up. But Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, but the thing is when I look at Tua, and I'll say this over and over again, there's just something about Tua that doesn't excite me. I don't care what he has done, and he's been a winner everywhere he's gone. If you look at his numbers, it's not because of Tua on the reason why they're a Super Bowl contender this year or a playoff contender. Anybody that makes the playoffs is a Super Bowl contender because anything could happen. So
unless you're in the NFC East,
well, if Miami squeezes in, I mean they could surprise the world. Their defense is playing great football. I mean they can completely dominate the line of scrimmage. They've been fantastic the last couple of weeks, and now they have Van Noy back and some of the players that they got back. I mean this defense is going to be even more high flying. More fun to watch. So, and they're winning. I think they've won like 4 games in a row. 5 games in a row. I mean, and it's not because of Tua. It's because of Fitzpatrick and Tua. And to be honest, they should have never taken Fitzpatrick out until he lost. And I thought they were wrong about that. But nevertheless, he's in and he's winning. So the wins mean everything than the statistics. So you might be right. We'll see what he could do.
Right. And I mean, it's amazing to me that Flores kind of got he went undetected the second half of last year. The Jets got a lot of publicity. Obviously, Buffalo got a lot of publicity. Everyone remembers how bad the press thought Miami was going to be last season, and they got significantly better as the year went on. And they traded away guys like Minka Fitzpatrick. They traded away one of the running backs. I think who went to Arizona.
Kenyon
so
Drake.
they gave away they gave away a lot of talent, and they still stay competitive.
Yeah, well,
I just wonder, why can't the Jets find a guy like Flores? I mean,
oh my God, he's from the Patriots. Do you think Brian Flores would have been coaching for the Jets?
Everybody else from the Patriots has been awful. Matt Patricia has been awful. I mean, any coach that came out of that season,
Joe Judge has looked pretty good.
Has not won.
Joe Judge has looked pretty good.
Joe Judge has won three games.
So what? And he could in his first season, and it doesn't matter what their record. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In his first season, he can make the playoffs. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter what his record is. If he squeaks into the playoffs, he is a Super Bowl contender. Anybody that makes the playoffs is a Super Bowl contender because anything could happen. Anything could happen.
But I wouldn't. I wouldn't say. I mean, I have to judge a guy a little bit more than half a year. If Joe Judge makes the playoffs with a 5-11 or 6-10 record, at least he makes the playoffs. That's all I can say. I mean, I don't know how he's been compared to Flores overall. I mean, the Giants have been in every game. I could say that they play better than I thought they would. But that's just a really weak division. So you would know better than I would about Judge. But as far as the rest of the NFC. What I really liked about, well, by the way, did you see the Detroit-Washington game?
Yes.
Yesterday?
Yes.
There always seems something. There are teams like Detroit, Los Angeles, being the Chargers. There's always, even the Falcons, there's always something that's bad that happens at the end of the game that extends the game or puts the game into overtime, where Detroit was able to hang on and win thanks to another 59-yarder. But if you saw that, there was a play where fourth down where there was not pass interference, and they called pass interference to extend the drive.
Does it really matter? Look who was playing. Who cares? It was Washington and the Lions. I mean,
the Lions all the time.
It doesn't matter. None of those teams are going to be anything. I mean, they're
no, but it's just typical because I'm watching the game and I was about to go out. Step out for a minute. I'm like, let me just see the end of the game. And then, of course, they get extended for like 20 minutes because of a fourth down pass interference that never should have been. But things like that happen in Washington. Things like that happen to the Jets. Things like that happen to the Falcons. Things like that happen to the Chargers. It just seems to be
Things like that happen to the Lions.
Well,
it
there was something, Mark. There was something significant that happened yesterday in football, and that was Drew Brees' injury.
Yeah,
and he could be out for a significant amount of time. They just had an MRI. If he broke anything or fractured anything, he could be out for a couple of weeks. He might not be back until the playoffs, and that could really hurt their seeding or even making the playoffs, especially in the division that they're in. So, what are your thoughts to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, you telling me that, I've been so enamored. I've been nonstop working since the last sports thing I saw was the end of the Buffalo-Arizona game yesterday. And I've had this big project that I've had to do. Literally, I have not stopped working the last 24 hours. So I didn't even know that. So that's news to me. How did you get hurt?
He got hit in the helmet by one of the Niners' backup defensive tackles and punctured his lung. I think it was the same thing Tyrod Taylor had, except obviously being a contact injury. And the helmet, the top of the helmet went right into his ribs.
You cannot depend on Jameis Winston, okay? If you're going to put all your eggs in Jameis Winston's basket or whatever his crab leg basket, you're never going to come out winners, okay? And I'm a Florida State fan. Jameis Winston is a bust. I would take a chance with Tatum Hill before I take a chance with him. Even though he's more of a gimmick quarterback, that's what he is. Hill is.
Right,
so
he is.
yeah, but maybe he could surprise people like Jeremy Lin did for the Knicks for a couple of games and show people that maybe. No, I'm just saying.
Taste sanity.
Yeah, well, maybe maybe it could change. Maybe it could change the outlook of this team and how they run their offense. When Drew Brees comes back, you can use him more. So I don't know, but that's a huge loss.
Here's the thing, Errol. I mean, there was a time. I know you remember Jim Plunkett. I don't know if Speedy does, but
I know
Jim
the name.
Plunkett was,
Raiders quarterback.
For most of his career, considered a bust. You know, he was a number one pick. He was a bust with the Niners, with the Patriots. Then he goes to the Raiders, his third team, and he wins 2 Super Bowls. Okay, there have been guys throughout their career. There's another quarterback that played with the Raiders in the early 2000s with Jerry Rice, the team that beat the Jets in 2000. They wound up going to Rich Gannon. He's a guy that was kind of a guy that hung on, really not a very good quarterback, and then he just kind of picked it up toward the end of his career. Testaverde was pretty much a bad quarterback with Tampa Bay, went to Baltimore and Cleveland, got a little bit better, and then, he was one of 2 Jet quarterbacks to win a division title. So you never know how a guy, when he gets to sit and learn and watch.
Oh, give me a break. Jameis Winston stinks. He stinks. No matter how much he's sitting down right now and learning behind Drew Brees. Drew Brees has not been at the top of his game all season long because he hasn't had his weapons. And we haven't seen Drew Brees at the top of his game for about 2 years. So Jameis Winston sitting down, he was under one of the best offensive minds in the NFL and Bruce Arians, and he screwed up how many times? 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions with 5,000 yards, which makes absolutely no sense. To me, Jameis Winston is a bust. He's a waste. He's another Marcus Mariota. He's never going to amount to anything. So, in my eyes, the thing that stood out to me, especially with the quarterback position yesterday, was really the facts on what the Saints are going to do moving forward. Losing Drew Brees for a punctured lung, they're saying now. So usually when you have a punctured lung, you're out about 3-4 weeks. Maybe even longer. So you're not going to see Drew Brees until week 14, week 13. That's a significant loss for a team like the Saints that are one of the hottest teams in football. And what they did to the Buccaneers really solidified on why they are the best team in the NFC. So it's crazy. And by the way, New England is still in this. New England is still in this, knocking off the Baltimore Ravens. And by the way, say whatever you want, the MVP, Lamar Jackson, has not looked good all season long. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, look, the only reason why I said Winston was because there's been a case to be made for other guys that were down and out and considered losers, and they made the most of their second chance. So you never know. But what I did like about the Saints is because clearly they had an advantage over the Buccaneers. and that they were going to probably win the division, which means that Brady would have to go through 3 road games to make the playoffs. Now, if this allows Buccaneers to win the division, they're still going to have to eventually beat Breeze, you would think, because Breeze would probably come back by the time the playoffs start. And no matter where that game is played, since they got.
But you know, and I know, when you're off the field for a significant amount of time, it takes you a couple of weeks to get back into the game. If you're going to come back at the end of the season and go right into the playoffs, that's not a good sign for Drew Brees. It's not a good sign for any quarterback. So you're wrong, Mark. I would think you're wrong on that.
Obviously, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying that if he comes back, they've already beaten Tampa Bay twice. So I don't. The NFC's been so hard to predict.
And you know how hard it is, and you know, and you're a statistic guy. You're a statistician. How many times have we seen in the last 10 years a team beat a team 3 times in one season?
Well, it's happened quite a bit.
Only one time.
Only one time this past decade. The Saints did it to the Carolina Panthers in 2017.
One time, okay? So the chances of them beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again is not good. And if you don't have Drew Brees and he's not at 100%, that's a bad sign going in and playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who could win the division now because you lose Drew Brees. They could fall behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they can win the division, which gives them home field advantage, which gives Tom Brady again another easy ride to the Super Bowl.
Okay, but I see. Okay, but guys, if you go back before, maybe to the 70s and 80s, that used to happen a lot more often than it's happened recently. And it all depends whether you play the team or not in the playoffs. I mean, that's obviously the biggest thing because you need to play them 3 times. But I remember, the Dolphins beat the Jets 3 times in 1982.
That's the Jets.
Where that does happen.
Mark, we're not saying it never happens, but it's rare.
But yeah, remember Tennessee? Tennessee beat
Jacksonville.
There was only 3 losses that year in '99, which Tennessee when they went to the Super Bowl. So it does happen, and they have looked so bad. Okay, the Buccaneers have looked so bad against the Saints this year. So
the Buccaneers offense, the Buccaneers offense is overrated. I've been saying this over and over again.
Okay. But that's not the argument I'm making. I'm just saying that if they're going to get to the Super Bowl, that the team that's really outplayed them this year has been the Saints, and that's the team that they, to me, would have the biggest problem with.
So I'm telling you, the advantage goes to the Buccaneers, and that's because now you're talking about Drew Brees coming back from a major injury. Right now, if the season were to end right now or in the next 4 weeks, and Drew Brees comes back, I guarantee you, if the betting line comes up, they're going to bet on the Buccaneers over Drew Brees because Drew Brees hasn't been on the field.
But that's just 2 teams, okay? Seattle, you still don't know what you're going to get at. Seattle, they look great in the beginning of the year. The defense has been awful all year, and now they've lost 2 straight games, right? I don't think you get anything from the NFC East because they'll probably get a team that finishes under 500. The Packers can still be heard from, all right? The Bears have kind of disappeared, so they're not any good anymore, and they probably won't even make the playoffs. And then what are you left with?
The best teams this year. The best teams right now in the league are from the AFC. Go ahead, Mark. Make your points.
Yeah, and looking at the NFC, I mean, you're right. The best teams, the Super Bowl, real Super Bowl candidates are coming out of the AFC. But the NFC this year, people thought the Niners were going to be good enough to be a contender. They aren't. You thought that...
That's because of injuries.
They weren't. Okay, I'm not saying, whatever the reason, that's not what I'm getting into. I'm just getting into what was supposed to happen and what's actually happened. Okay? So it's been inconsistent all year. You've had teams come up and go down. I still don't know if the Rams are a legitimate team or not. They look great one year. 1 week they look horrible the next week. So that, to me, has been the epitome of the NFC. You have teams rise up who look really good, and then those same teams will look really bad. I mean, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, the Saints, they've all been in that category of looking good and bad at the same time. So more than any other year that I can remember, the NFC this year is a real crapshoot going into the playoffs, where you're going to have whichever hot at the time that the playoffs start, they're going to have the advantage.
Beware.
Is that necessarily true, though, if they're all
of the
phasey like
Giants.
this?
What was the question, Speedy?
I said, is that necessarily true, though, Mark? If you're saying they're all phasey like this, they're good, and then they're bad, and then they're good, and they're bad. It might not matter who's hot. It just matters who's well-rounded, and the Saints are well-rounded.
Again, you generally, like, the team that kind of rounds off and heading into the postseason, that hot time, like 3 or 4 weeks, will probably carry them into Super Bowl. I like Arizona. I think they've been the most consistent of all the teams. They haven't been too high. They haven't been too low. They've been in just about every game. I think they possess weapons that's going to make it hard to prepare for. So that's what I would say my sleeper would be in the NFC, judging by seeing them play almost every week. That they beat Seattle, they can drive towards the end of the game. They got a pretty good defense. That's who I would like. But if there's going to be another team, if there's going to be a Green Bay, or if there's going to be Brady and the Buccaneers are going to get there, they have to start playing a lot more consistently, and nobody in the NFC has so far.
Well, I think the Saints have. I think you're wrong about that. I think the Saints have been consistent, even with the injuries that they've had and losing Michael Thomas for a couple of weeks and all the inside and out stuff that Michael Thomas wants to be traded. They're still winning. They're still have a fantastic record. Losing Drew Brees. Let's see what this team could do with a Jameis Winston or a Hill running this offense. If you could stay somewhat 500 before Drew Brees comes back, you're still a dangerous team. It just scares me. Drew Brees coming back before the season is over, going into the playoffs and have to play Tampa again, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers they're gonna have a vendetta, and they might have home field advantage now knowing that Drew Brees could be out a significant amount of time. They're only a game behind right now, the Saints. If the Saints lose a game and they win, they lose the division. And then Tampa and Tom Brady's, they have home field advantage all the way to the Super Bowl, which, it benefits the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I disagree. I still think that losing Drew Brees is really going to affect them. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. I still think the Saints are too talented. But the team that's the sleeper of my, when I look out and the scary part of the NFC is the LA Rams. I don't like their quarterback. But their defense could be at the top of the game. They have to me, the most prolific defensive lineman in all of football, the best defensive player in football, and Aaron Donald. They have arguably the best corner in football in Jalen Ramsey. I mean, this defense is playing on all cylinders right now. Say whatever you want, that week in and week out they don't play well, but this team can get really, really hot, and they do have a quarterback that can make every single throw. They have a coach that can make the plays, and they have a defense now that really doesn't have any weaknesses. So I think they're dangerous. I think the Rams are the dangerous team, and I think they're my sleepers coming out of the NFC.
We were talking about the Giants defensive coordinator potentially being up for a head coaching job. Look out for the Rams one, too. He's done a fantastic job this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about the Rams is that they've been there already. They've made it to the Super Bowl. They know how to win in the playoffs. So, you're right, Errol. I think that the Rams have been very hard to diagnose week by week. They've looked very bad on some weeks. Like when they totally outplayed Miami and they lose that game, and then they've lost some really bad games, and then they've looked great some weeks. So I don't know what to expect from them. If they can get consistent in the round into the playoff, they have enough weapons. Definitely on defense, they're better than probably the majority of the NFC. At least more consistent defensively than the majority of the NFC. So if they get hot, they could definitely make a run to the Super Bowl. I just don't like Goff enough. I think Goff's a little too inconsistent. But
I agree.
He has to really play. He has to play mistake-free football in order to get to the Super Bowl, and he hasn't yet.
Their running game has been a lot better than I thought they were going to be after losing Todd Gurley. They've played a lot better last couple of weeks, and their offensive line, which is an old offensive line, has played very well. So, go ahead.
Well, why do you think the Niners are talking about getting rid of Garoppolo? I mean, do you think that's something that
Because they want Sam Darnold. Because they want Sam Darnold. That's what they want.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, that's what they want. And I wouldn't be so surprised if you hear that Sam Darnold gets traded to San Francisco, because I could see San Francisco giving him 2 second rounds and a third, or maybe a late first round, their first round and a third round, or maybe just give up a first round for Sam Darnold and get Sam Darnold. I really believe the team that's going to be gunning for Sam more than any team in football is the San Francisco 49ers. One, because he's from that area, and two, he's closer to his family, and I believe Kyle Shanahan believes he can fix Sam Darnold. And in that offense with his arm and his strength, he's a better all-around quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. He is.
John Lynch traded a second for Jimmy Garoppolo, who played 6 games. So much bigger sample on Darnold.
Well, Darnold has to stay healthy, and there's no big sample on that. The guy can't stay healthy, and if you can't stay healthy, then you're not going to get a lot back for him. So Sam's missing another week this week. He's not playing against the Chargers, which means we're going to see another toast and taste of Flacco, who actually almost won a game last week against a Patriot team that completely played their asses off against the Ravens in New England. So I've been very impressed with Cam Newton. His numbers don't show it, but Cam Newton is showing us that he could be a leader. And when you're talking about players wanting to play for him the way they would do in New England, it's been a fantastic story for Cam Newton. Really has been.
No, I mean, we'll see. I mean, beating the Jets and beating the Ravens isn't enough yet. You got to do more.
No, but they beat the Ravens.
Playoffs, then I would say so. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know, but the Ravens haven't won the playoff game yet. So if they can make the playoffs, they come back and make the playoffs with what they're facing. He will have done a heck of a job. I can definitely say that.
New England could have won. New England should have won 3 of the games that they lost.
Yeah, but again, should have, would have. These things happen all the time. The Chargers should have won just about every game they played. You know, so you never. There's always a reason why a team wins and loses. I just don't like excuses. But as far as the AFC, the Chiefs to me, they look. When you look at Mahomes' statistics, they're almost too good to be true. But he keeps doing things that quarterbacks haven't done, and his athletic ability and his ability to limit mistakes, where he basically doesn't make any. It's to me. I think the best part of all these things that they talk about, no matter how fast he is, and no matter his arm strength, his ability to limit mistakes is what really makes.
You know, he has a great coach. He's got a great coach. He's got a great offensive line. He's got a great all-around team around him. He's got so many weapons. If you you put Sam Darnold in that offense, I'm not saying he's as good as Pat Mahomes, but I think Sam will be playing very well in that offense, very well. So I think it has a lot to do with Andy Reid. I know a lot of people want to blow Patrick Mahomes. Oh, my God, he's fantastic. Greatest quarterback ever. But he also has Andy Reid. He's got a tremendous amount of weapons around him. 2, now he's got Le'Veon Bell and the young kid that they got from LSU. Yeah, they're talented from top to bottom. And to say that it's just Patrick Mahomes and how fantastic he doesn't make mistakes, how could you make mistakes when you have arguably the best offensive talent in the league? So
I know plenty of quarterbacks that make mistakes that have a lot of offensive talent around.
Patrick Mahomes makes mistakes.
Quarterback's ability to make mistakes, throw interceptions, have his turnovers cost him games. Mahomes is very good at limiting those things. And when you're a young quarterback, that's usually the first thing that comes out is you make mistakes at bad times. And he hasn't really done that the way other quarterbacks have. He's been, as far as young quarterbacks, that's probably the most impressive thing.
Absolutely. He is the best quarterback, best all-around quarterback when it comes to touchdowns to interception ratio. Absolutely. But he also has arguably one of the greatest offensive minds in football history and a guy that knows how to run the ball. Remember, the first thing Andy Reid thinks about is running the ball. The second thing is throwing the ball. And this is an offensive-minded coach. He runs the ball more than he throws the ball. Don't get it twisted. Go look at their run game. Go look at how many times he runs the ball to throwing the ball. Most of the time, he runs the ball more than he throws. Most of the time. So Pat Mahomes has a tremendous amount of talent around him. So, yes, he's fantastic. He's unbelievable. But you put Russell Wilson in that offense, and with that defense, and with that, Russell Wilson will never lose. He'll never lose.
Do me a favor when you hang up the phone. Look up Reed's pass to run. It's nothing close. He passes the ball a hell of a lot more than he ever ran.
Yes.
He's done that his whole career. Yeah.
Well, who are you talking about?
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid. Okay. Andy Reid is running the ball at least 40 times a game. 30, between 30 and 40 times a game. Yes, Mahomes might be throwing it 50 or 56 times. Right. It doesn't matter. You're running the ball.
They're on the field.
You're running the ball a lot.
Yeah. Look at the stats for right now.
All right, I'll look at the stats.
All right. Okay. Does Miami win the AFC? Yes or no?
No. Buffalo wins.
Okay. Does Pittsburgh go undefeated?
No. I think Pittsburgh. They'll lose one game against Baltimore. Their only game, their second game against Baltimore. I think they'll lose that
Thanksgiving night.
Yes.
I know they've already beaten Baltimore in Baltimore, so you're right.
But that rivalry, the road teams do win often.
It doesn't matter.
You do not. If you're a Pittsburgh fan, you do not want to see Pittsburgh go undefeated. That's all I'm going to say.
You don't want to see Baltimore?
I mean, you don't want to see Pittsburgh go undefeated going into the playoffs.
All the pressure on them. Yep.
You want them to lose a game.
That would be a hell of an accomplishment. I mean, that would be a hell of an accomplishment if they did go undefeated. I mean, I don't think too many people thought Pittsburgh was going to be this good.
I didn't.
At this point. And Roethlisberger, most people thought that he was kind of going to the end of his career. But Roethlisberger, if you look at the other guys that he was with, Phillip Rivers has always been a guy that when the time mattered to make the game-winning drive or to make the game-winning play or to do something that gets his team over the top, he really hasn't in his career. Eli won 2 Super Bowls, so you can't take that away from him. But Eli was nowhere near as consistent as Roethlisberger's been. Roethlisberger's been probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks of this generation. He's a guy, year after year, he's going to go for 4,000 yards. He's going to get you into the playoffs. Now, his biggest problem is he could never beat Brady. But Roethlisberger to me has been very, very good. One of the most underrated guys of this generation. And Pittsburgh this year, their ability to consistently keep these young receivers active and make them a bigger part of their offense, because they always could run the ball. But that to me is probably something that I didn't expect out of Roethlisberger at this age, and with his arm the way it was, I didn't really think he could put up the numbers he's putting up coming off of surgery. But he's been really, really good. And the Steelers defense has been better. They have more sacks now than their team in the 70s did. The other team to go 7-0, and now they're in territory where no Steelers team has ever been. So I didn't expect that out of them. I thought Cleveland would give them a shot to beat that, to beat them in that division, but Pittsburgh still lose that division. And the only team they really got to worry about to me is Baltimore, because Baltimore, you're right, it's just a rivalry where it doesn't matter where they play, when they play, in the playoffs or not. Baltimore could absolutely beat them because they know them so well. But even in the South, I mean, the Titans and the Colts, to me, the Colts win over the Titans last week was something that I didn't expect, because Rivers usually tends to put it into...
Mark, you're going to have to hurry up. We got a caller. We have a caller, so you got to hurry up.
All right, guys.
No. Wait, I do finish up what you're saying. We have our guest. So finish up what you were saying.
I'm just saying that in the AFC, you have Kansas City. Maybe Pittsburgh can give a challenge if they keep winning, but I do think their experience matters in the end. And then it'll be interesting to see who wins the East, either Miami or Buffalo. Both teams have played really well.
Buffalo will win.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely, Mark. I'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you next week.
I'll talk to you later. All right, Mark Kelly, mark it up, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we will be talking to North Carolina A&T power forward recruit Duncan Powell here on Down to the Wire.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
As you guys know, this is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. You can also go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Go to iOS, ladies and gentlemen. Download our app. All you have to do is go to WWSRN or go to Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Well, we have our guests, and we've been waiting for the last couple of weeks to get this guy on the show. Actually, last week to get him on the show. We missed out on him last week. We got him on this week. Shout out to Jillian. We are now talking to North Carolina A&T power forward recruit, Duncan Powell. What's going on, Duncan?
What's good with you?
Ah, man. Well, I've been watching clips all over the internet about you, man. I mean, you're a fantastic player, man.
Thank you.
You really are, man. You know what I love about basketball is you get to see the growth of some of you guys. I played basketball when I was a kid. I actually watched Sebastian Talafier play high school basketball. Scored over 100 points in his high school game. I knew Stephon Marbury. I played street ball with him. I knew Kenny Anderson, he was from Brooklyn and played over, he's from New Jersey, but played in Brooklyn, over there by Lincoln. So, I had the opportunity to watch these guys grow and became, pretty good NBA players. So how are you and your family doing right now with this pandemic?
Everybody's good, no complaints. We're staying blessed. So, everything's good right now.
So what made you decide? I'm sure there were other teams recruiting you. What made you decide to go to North Carolina A&T?
Well, I mean, first, my cousin Adrian Powell, he went there in 2013 when they went to the NCAA tournament. And then, so watching him play and him being a role model in my life, and then as well as Coach Jones and Coach Dorsett building a great relationship with them. So, it was an easy choice at the end of the day.
Yeah, one of the offers you actually got was from Arkansas, which the SEC is rising a lot in basketball. Eric Musselman's a very good coach. Was it tough to turn down a decision like that, or was there something specific or personal with North Carolina A&T?
Well, I mean, technically, I didn't turn it down. I was actually committed to Arkansas. So, it, I mean, that shows you how highly I thought of them. And like you said, the SEC. But I took back and decommitted and just thought about it. And I just felt like North Carolina A&T was a place for me. So, I mean, it's all about your fit. So that's really what I chose A&T for.
We are talking to North Carolina A&T power forward recruit Duncan Powell. Now, Duncan, I've watched basketball for years. I grew up a Knicks fan, which, when the Knicks were actually good in the 90s, when Patrick Ewing and John Starks, when they were a good defensive team, when Pat Riley was running the organization, when he was the head coach of the team. So when you look at your game, is there a particular player that's playing college ball right now or that's in the NBA that you can compare and contrast your style of game to?
That's a great question. Firstly, I always tell people Jesus Shuttlesworth. I don't know if you've seen he got.
Of course.
But,
Come on, man.
Jesus Shuttlesworth, I feel like he matches my swag, on and off the court. But someone that's actively playing right now, I say a lot of people compare me to Kawhi or Michael Beasley when he was at Kansas State.
Really? If you're Kawhi Leonard, man, you'll be a fantastic NBA player. So you're a good defensive player.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, two-way basketball is very, very important, especially if you want to play in the NBA. So that's very, very important.
So is there any other college standouts, either your time watching or, again, just recently getting recruited? Is there any other college basketball standouts that you model your game around? Because there's a lot of good power forwards, forward-type players in college basketball right now and have been for quite a while.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I wouldn't allow myself to look at another person. A lot of the college players are around the same age as me. So I'm looking at them to dominate them. So I might watch film to see how I can be better than them, but there's no one in college for sure that I model my game after in any type of way. But I watch some college ball. I see who does what. That's my best way to answer that question. I mean, I can't model my game after anybody I might play against.
Now, Duncan, you look at all the attention Bronny Jr. is getting, LeBron James's son and Dwayne Wade's son is getting, and you look at players like you, they don't really get as much love because I go on YouTube and the first thing that pops up when I'm looking at high school basketball, the first thing that pops up is LeBron James's son, Dwayne Wade's son, this kid Williams, who's going to be a top prospect in about 2 years, 16-year-old kids. Does it bother you that because these NBA players' sons are really the centerfold, the center of attraction right now for college basketball and the NBA, does it bother you that you don't get the attention that you deserve?
Nah, I mean, yes and no. Back a couple of years ago, it did. But, I'm getting it out the mud, like I say. I know I give them all the business in a real game. Like, it's just hype. The media does their job. Of course, they're going to want to record and promote an NBA player's son or a hyped-up player. But at the end of the day, the only ranking that matters, the only hype that matters is the NBA draft board. So, that's what my eyes is on. And I know I'm better than any person you could look up on YouTube, so I'm not really worried about that.
Do you think the NBA and basketball in general makes it a lot easier for guys from smaller schools to really make a difference? We see Damian Lillard from Weber State. We see CJ McCollum, his teammate from Lehigh. Just guys like that really show off because, again, the big schools are going to get their guys, but not all of them pan out in the NBA because they don't get as many touches to really grow their game. Do you think that is the case and maybe why a lot of these guys choose these smaller schools?
I can't speak for other people, but for myself, I know it's all about finding the right fit. John Morant went to Murray State and was killing. So, if you find a school you go to, you could go to Dallas Community College, and you could go to. There's someone that is going to the league this year out of JUCO, out of Logan Community College. So, I mean, it's all about the right fit and where you go. So to answer your question, yes, it's not really where you go, it's what you do when you get there.
We are talking to North Carolina A&T power forward recruit Duncan Powell. Now, Duncan, I don't know where you got your name. Maybe you were named after Tim Duncan. I don't know. I mean, I've heard crazier things. But the power forward position is a very interesting position, and the game has transitioned. And the power forward now is, the power forward is the center, or the center is now the power forward, or the center is now the three. I mean, the positions now, they start to play smaller now. The NBA, they're playing smaller guys. It's not the bigger guys. So in your style of game and what you do good, could you compete in the speed game going up and down the court? Or are you more content on the way you play the old-fashioned way where you control the boards, you control your game inside the paint?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, but power forward, the four-man, that's just a number they just put me in, so you have to put me in something. I mean, I don't really have a position in basketball. I'm more of just a basketball player that helps his team win. So that's an easy question to answer. I mean, I can play in any tempo, any style of ball because I'm a basketball player. I'm not a power forward. I'm not a four-man. I'm not a three-man. So I'm just a basketball player. I can play 1 through 5, guard 1 through 5. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter with me. I'll play in whatever position, whatever type of tempo. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna dominate and affect the game in positive ways.
Do you think that trend will ever revert back where you see the NBA get back to being big again? Because we're also seeing a lot of big men, too, whether they're small forwards or power forwards as they're labeled, be able to pass and shoot effectively now. Could you see it where it goes back to having these 7-footers run the league, not as much with the guard play like we saw in the past this decade?
Actually, yes. The NBA is looking a lot at 6'10" and up, just running their offense through that. A mobile 6'10" stretch forward where they can play everything. So yeah, I do see the league becoming overall bigger in the next couple years, but we'll see. You never know what's gonna happen.
Duncan, when you look at the NBA, and a lot of these kids, they come from very poor families. They come from really bad areas of the country. They grow up, some of them grow up not wearing the same sneakers for about 5 years, rip sneakers, rip rubber. And I believe the NBA really screwed some of these kids because I believe if you think that your game is good enough to go to the NBA, LeBron James did, Kobe Bryant did, Kevin Garnett did, then you should be allowed to. Do you like that the NBA is thinking about bringing back the opportunity that you can go right out of high school to the NBA? Or do you think that going overseas or playing college basketball or playing in the G League before you get drafted makes you a better player and gives you a better opportunity to succeed in the NBA?
I mean, that's an excellent question. I can't wait to answer this. I mean, if you look at every other profession, even athletics, baseball, hockey, tennis. If a kid is 12 years old, is a genius. What they're not going to stop him from going to college at 12. They're not going to stop him from becoming a doctor at the age of 18. So it's only fair and right for them to allow a player who's trying to provide for his family to go to the NBA out of high school. I mean, it doesn't really make sense why they don't allow it. It has to be a deeper reason that I don't know about, but it just seems like with the NFL, well, I mean, the NFL is a little different. That's really physical. But with the NBA, a skill sport, it only makes sense to allow players to go straight out of high school. I don't see what the holdup is, but
All right, it's the NBA. It's like any professional sport. It's all about money in their eyes, and obviously it benefits them or it benefits the college, the college teams, because if in my eyes, the NBA is trying to help the NCAA, because if the best players in the country decide to go play NBA basketball, it hurts the college product. That's what I believe. And to me, if that's the case, these players in college should be paid. They should have the opportunity. Either that, or if they want to go for autograph signings, they should be allowed to make money off of that while they're in college and make some kind of gratuity as a college basketball player. That's just my opinion.
Correct. Right.
All right, Duncan. So if one team that you would want to face in an NCAA tournament game as a potential Cinderella team to pull off the upset, who would it be and why?
Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. I gotta think of a team that overlooked me. Let me think. Like probably, I grew up a North Carolina fan. I probably want to beat Roy Williams or Coach K. Well, I love to beat Coach K with Duke. Really any team. Really. Yeah, probably, but it'd have to be North Carolina or Duke. You know, a North Carolina school would probably beat Shaka Smart at Texas. That made me real happy. You know, beat the Texas Tech Raiders. You know, any Texas or North Carolina school. You know, or anywhere in between in the country. So really anybody.
Well, just don't beat Duke. You could beat North Carolina. You could beat anybody else. Just don't beat Duke.
Texas
okay?
isn't hard. They're not a good tournament team anyway.
I'm a Duke fan. I wish you went to Duke, Duncan. I'm rooting you on, man, because I love your. First of all, I seen video. I was at a party on Saturday. I went to my friend's 50th birthday party. I'm 38. I'm a lot younger than him. And he's a DJ. He's a very well-known DJ, famous DJ, and he had it at his house. And my friend was showing me videos, and I was watching. He's like, "Yo, watch this kid, Duncan Powell. Watch what he does, one-on-one." And I was watching some of your clips, man, and I was like, "Holy!" And I was like, I think I'm interviewing him on Monday, and I know my friend was like, he's probably locked down listening to this interview. So Justin is a big fan of yours. He's watched a couple of clips on YouTube about you. You've got some game, man. You really do. And your development, your skills, being that you're going into college for maybe 1 year, 2 years before you decide you go into the NBA. And I know I believe that these kids that are coming out of high school, if they are qualified or they're good enough to go into the NBA, they should be allowed to. And I know that it can change your family's life when you get drafted. So I'm rooting you on, man. I want you to succeed. I want you to be an NBA pick, and I want to be invited to the NBA draft with you, man. I want to interview you first. I want to interview you first before all these, these hungry hippos, when they're jumping around trying to ask questions for you. ESPN, that they're a sellout organization, or CBS, or any of these organizations, TNT, trying to find a way to get answers from you, when the truth is, I think you're a young kid, and you have all the ability in the world to go out there and prove to people that you not only are you going to be a success story in college, but a success story as a professional basketball player.
Errol will love you more if you're part of a 15 or 16 seed that upsets North Carolina.
That or you get drafted by the New York Knicks. Then I'd be really happy. Then I'd be really happy, because then I get to watch you for the next 10 years and dominate something that the Knicks have not had in a very long time, a successful power forward. So
Duncan, I'll be happy if you guys become the next UMBC too. Just keep that in mind.
Oh, for sure.
I actually picked that, by the way, because I was hating on Virginia all that year. So if you guys are the next ones, yeah, it would be awesome.
I would love to watch you in March Madness. To me, it's out of all the best time to watch professional sports or college sports is in March, because you have the NBA playoffs, you have the NHL playoffs, you're talking about OTAs for football and getting ready for football season, and then you have March Madness, and then you have not the Masters, but you have the U.S. Open or whatever, and you have so much stuff going on. There's so much great things going on, and the one thing that really stands out to me is March Madness. It is the most exciting thing to watch. Everybody, including people that don't even watch college basketball, their eyes are locked in that tournament for almost 2 weeks. So, I want to watch you play, man. I want to watch you succeed. I've been very impressed with some of the clips and who you are, man. I want you to be a friend of the show. I'd love to get you on when your season starts next year. Hopefully, there's a season, which it seems like there will be. And with this COVID-19, it's been absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. Rick Pitino already quoted in saying he wants to push the season back. Have May Madness.
Well, Rick needs to learn how to, stop doing stupid things on and off the court.
Yep.
Before he opens his mouth and he takes over another coaching job, I think Rick needs to learn how to slowly but surely be the last person to mention anything, because the guy's he's been wrapped up in his own little stupidity. So, anyways, Duncan, before we let you go, I want to ask you a couple of crazy questions. Are you ready for these crazy questions?
I'm ready.
All right. And I want you to be honest with them because we ask all our football recruits, our NBA recruits, all of them. Boxers or briefs, and why?
Man, boxers, I need some room to breathe. I can't be wearing no briefs around.
Well, you're a basketball player. You don't have to be hit like a football player. Football players like they're two friends to be locked in and tight over there. I'd be the one of the guys.
That's them. I ain't played football since 8th grade. I can't really speak for them, but basketball players, we carry ourselves a different way.
That's right. Well, you're also a lot taller than them.
Yeah, way taller.
What are you, 6'10", 6'9"?
I'm 6'8.5".
Wow. So you'd be a small power forward in the NBA. They'd probably move you to the 3 in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't know why they got me down as a 4 right now, but I'm really a 3. But
different teams are structured differently, though, too. It probably is the way they're built.
Well, you have an amazing ability to get into the rim. I watched your clips, man. You have a fantastic ability to get to the rim. You have unbelievable handle for a guy your size. You can handle the ball. You do play a little. I never watched your defensive game, and you're saying that you're a great defensive player, which I love defense. That's what I build pride to. If you're a good defensive player, your offensive game will pick up. You look at Jimmy Butler. When Jimmy Butler came to the NBA from Marquette, he wasn't a good offensive player. He was a great defensive player. It took him a little while, but he's the same size as you, 6'8". He was a 3 coming out of Marquette, and you saw what Jimmy Butler has become. He's become one of the best players in the NBA, and I think having that ability, it's very hard to teach defense. It's easier to teach offense, much easier to teach offense. If you have that defensive ability that you can shut down a player at your position, that makes you that much better than everybody else on the court.
Duncan, you were also mentioning Kawhi Leonard, too. He was the same way. He was like a 9 point per game scorer at San Diego State. His offensive game was not developed really at all, and it only took until maybe 3 or 4 years into his career for that to develop. But his defense was always fantastic, as that a lot of players that come from San Diego State are like that.
Right. I mean, that's Kawhi for you. That's why he's one of the highest. He's about to be one of the highest paid players in the league.
Well, Kawhi is one of the highest paid players in the NBA. He just got that Clippers contract. And listen, when you make it to the NBA, and you will, the NBA. They make these players with the new TV deals and what the CBA, even though COVID-19 has really affected it, by the time you're ready to come into the NBA, the CBAs are going to be completely different. There's going to be more money to be paid to some of you young players. You'll probably make more money coming out of the draft than we've ever seen anybody come out of the draft. I mean, the NFL, they've taken money away from the number 1 pick. The number 1 picks used to make a lot more money. And now in the NBA, these number 1 top 5 picks, they make more money every single year, being that they're a top pick. So it's really unique the way different sports work. But my second question to ask you is what is your favorite snack to eat before a game?
Before a game, I really don't eat anything ever. I never eat anything. I might eat some Starburst maybe, but I don't eat anything before a game.
Oh, you're a Starburst fan.
Favorite flavor in the traditional pack and favorite flavor of any other variety packs?
He likes them all.
Traditional.
No, what's your favorite of the four types in the traditional?
What you mean? It's only
There's 4. There's the pink one, the orange, yellow, red.
I like the orange.
Oh,
that's my favorite too. Pink. Okay.
All right, I like the pink too. Orange and pink are my favorites.
Mine too.
But orange, it's just something about orange. It has that sweet taste, I'll tell you what, it kind of tastes like, but I won't do it on radio.
No, you will not.
Just kidding. Anyways, last question to ask you, blondes or brunettes, and why?
Probably brunettes. I don't see that many blondes where I stay at.
Well, you're going to a nice city where there are a lot of blondes walking around, so you're going to have a lot of fun of it. Are you dating anybody? You have a girlfriend?
Nah, I ain't got no girlfriend right now.
Oh, man, he's a free agent, ladies. He's a free agent. So Mr. Duncan Powell is on the prowl. So beware over there at North Carolina A&T, because he's out and he's ready to sniff out the beef. You know what I'm talking about. So, Duncan, you have any questions for us before we let you go?
Nah, that's it. I mean, what? Well, actually, who's probably the most notable alumni of this radio show right here?
Oh, it would be me.
That
That would be. I was actually a very big athlete too. Growing up, I was a big time hockey player. I was a top prospect in the country before I hurt my knee when I was 17. I was looked at as being a top, late first round, early second round draft pick in the NHL before I hurt my knee. And I lost my ride, and it's a long story, Duncan. When you get into the NBA and you invite me over to your NBA party, I'll tell you the whole story. How's that sound?
The show.
It's definitely. I want you to do well, man. I'm going to be rooting for you. I want you to be a friend and a fan of the show. Do you have our app, my friend? Do you have our app?
No, I don't have the app yet.
All right. Well, my producer over here sitting next to me is going to send you. Do you have an iPhone or do you have an Android?
I have an iPhone.
All right. Do you follow us on our social medias?
Yes, I do.
All right. So I'll send you my song. Dude, I'm going to follow you, man. I'm going to follow you. I want you to play well this year. I want you to make the NCAA tournament, and I want to see you make some. I want you to make a roll over there in that tournament, man. I want you to do well.
For sure that.
And then you get drafted by the Knicks and then become a superstar.
Oh man, I don't know when I'm gonna go after that, but it's a possibility. I don't know about the Knicks.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, that's my team, man. By the way, what do you think about these Harden trade rumors? Harden going to the Nets.
That's gonna be crazy. That's a finals team right there.
Really?
Really?
I think it's gonna screw. You have Harden and Kyrie Irving on one team, two ball hogs. I don't know, man. I don't know.
If they get it to work, it's gonna work.
Oh yeah, if they get it to work.
Yeah, that's a big if.
Do you think Steve Nash is gonna get it to work?
Man, you never know.
That's true. You never know. That is true. That is true. Duncan, thank you for joining us. We'll be in touch. My producer will send you how you can download our app, and let's stay in touch, bro. I want you to come on the show again.
Most definitely. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely, guys. We were just talking to North Carolina A&T power forward recruit Duncan Powell. Great kid. Mm-hmm. Absolutely great kid. Fantastic interview. You could tell he's very confident. Yeah. He's a confident guy, and I like that about him. I really do. I think it shows you his personality and what he believes he is as a player.
Oh yeah.
And that's what you want. You want a player that's going to come to your team and is going to change your team for the better. So,
absolutely.
Duncan Powell is a fan. You have a new fan, man. You have a new fan.
You have two.
And I followed you. I followed you on your YouTube too, by the way. So I like what I see, man. I think this kid's going to be a really, really good college player and could be an NBA player.
And
really could.
Like we were saying, if he already has the defensive game locked, that's already a big step for a young player.
Oh, absolutely.
It's very hard to learn development-wise if you don't have it already, and he has it.
All right. So I've been waiting for this guy to come on the show, okay? And this guy has been, and I want to get him on the show when the Jeff man is on the show, because these two guys, I would love to get the heated arguments that these two guys can get on with this show. So we have the Beef on. What's going on, Beef?
What's up, my friend? How are you?
Finally, we have you on the show. I haven't heard from you in a long time, as far as on our radio show.
Yeah, well, you guys are busy. Every time I try to call, there's always guests and this and that.
So what do you think about the NBA draft coming up this week? I know you're not watching the NBA because of everything that's happened, but
no, I'm not really watching it at all.
But where do you see LaMelo Ball? I mean, I've been hearing stories that LaMelo Ball is now a sure lockdown as the number one pick after his his practices with some of these teams with the Timberwolves. If he doesn't go one, he'll go two. Wiseman, they're saying, is falling now. They're saying Wiseman might fall all the way to 3 or 4. So that's crazy. That is really, really crazy. So what are your thoughts? I know you want to get into your Cowboys in football. But what are your thoughts with the NBA draft being around the corner? How about Harden going to the Nets? That's the big story now.
I don't know. That's the big story. I don't think that's going to work. I just don't see him and Kyrie Irving getting along, because Kyrie Irving's a very, very hot-headed person, and he doesn't get along with his teammates very well. I don't know if Steve Nash can control them two together.
No, but Kevin Durant can. Kevin Durant can. And I think Kevin Durant will be the leader of that team.
He's going to have to be, especially with those two on the team. I mean,
well, I don't know.
Like I said, if they can get that to work, they're going to be unstoppable.
No, I still think the Lakers. I mean, I've been hearing Schroeder's getting traded to the Lakers. The
Lakers just got to rid of Danny Green for somebody, right?
Yes, for Schroeder.
They're trading him to OKC as part of the Schroeder deal.
Yeah, and Schroeder is a fantastic point guard. Fantastic.
Yes.
Playing with LeBron James is going to make him even that much better. Schroeder averaged about 15, 16 points a game last year as a starting point guard. You put him with LeBron, he's going to average 4 or 5 more points more. He's going to be an all-star next year with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So you're adding that figure, and they're going to be pretty unstoppable, even though Anthony Davis wants a lot of money, and he's expecting a big time, long time. He's not even signing.
If Harden goes to the Nets with KD and Kyrie, I just don't see anyone.
How about Golden State? They have the opportunity. CP3 going to the Suns.
Yep.
CP3 going to the Suns with the DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. I mean, they're going to be a fantastic team next year too. I mean, there are a lot of teams that have 3 really top players on their team. So, I mean, the Suns are going to be good next year. Story coming out today that the Mavericks are going to lose Kristaps Porzingis for the beginning of the season next year. So
I just saw that. Yep, he's out. Yep.
He could be out all the way to the All-Star break. So, all you Knicks fans that were taking shots at the Knicks on losing Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis, as talented as he is, he can't stay healthy. The guy can't stay healthy. His knee problems.
That's what happens with a lot of those big guys who are close to 7 foot. I mean, they get hurt.
Yeah, he's got one of the weirder body types, too, in the league.
He's tall and lengthy.
Right.
And very thin. He has no muscle on him. He's trying to build muscle.
Guys like that don't last long in the league.
No, and I think that's a huge problem moving forward. And for the Knicks, it's a good thing because the Knicks get the Dallas Mavericks first-round draft pick next year. And being that Kristaps might not be back in the beginning of the season, might miss all the way to the All-Star break, this team could fall out of a playoff spot, especially with the West. The West, as good as it is.
Didn't the Knicks want Chris Paul? Weren't they trying to go and get him?
No, Chris Paul went to the Suns. Now I'm hearing.
He went to the Suns,
Now the stories are coming out. I'll tell you the stories and the rumors now is that Russell Westbrook is going to be a Knick, and that will draw Giannis. Possibly to the Knicks. That's what I've been hearing. The story that I read. Now, I'm not saying Giannis is going to the Knicks, but there's stories coming out that if the Knicks make that trade for Russell Westbrook, the Knicks have the money to bring in Giannis, and they could bring both of those guys to make their tandem in the Eastern Conference as well. I mean, but I've also heard Giannis possibly staying with Milwaukee or going to Miami. So
I've heard Giannis in Dallas too.
Yeah, it's not happening. There's no way they're going to be able to
I don't think it happens either. It's just something that I've heard.
There's no way they're maneuvering
him and Doncic have a nice connection, from what I've heard.
Yeah, but there's no way.
I don't think it'll work either. I'm just saying.
The money thing is not going to work.
I agree. I'm just saying I've just heard it.
Yeah, you could hear it. I'm just telling you it's not going to happen. It's just a story. It's not happening. I think it makes more sense for Giannis to stay with Milwaukee, Miami, or the Knicks. And there was a story coming out today, and this is no bull crap or anything that I'm saying, that if the Knicks land Russell Westbrook, there's a very good chance they can sway Giannis to come and play with Russell Westbrook in New York. So with the young players that they have, with R.J. Barrett, they can get who's the other kid? Obi Toppin and some of the players that they can get, and they have a slew of draft picks for the next 5 or 6 years. You can build around Russell Westbrook and Giannis, and maybe add a player here and there in free agency. I mean, the Knicks could be with the Tom Thibodeau, I mean, it could make sense. It really could. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting. The draft being that it's this week, it's going to be the first NBA virtual draft, which is very interesting. I'm intrigued to see where LaMelo Ball goes. I do believe he will go number 1 now. Everything that I've read, he's going number 1. The Timberwolves already are negotiating a deal with him. So
LeVar is not going to be happy.
No, LeVar wanted LaMelo to go to the Knicks or the Pistons. That's where he wanted him to go. Unless the Knicks do some crazy thing at the draft and trade up a significant amount of picks to move up to number 1. To the Timberwolves to get LaMelo, which could happen. It could very much happen. Could you imagine the Knicks make a move. They trade up all their draft stock. They bring in LaMelo. They have RJ, and then they bring in Russell Westbrook, and then they bring in Giannis. I mean, then you have your Fordham. You have your quad. I mean, you and then you have you're probably gonna have to give up your pick this year. I mean, to move up in that pick, move up as number one. I mean, you can really solidify your team in one off season and one draft. So anything could happen. I'm not expecting the Knicks to do anything crazy. I'm not. But I do believe the Knicks will bring a superstar to this team. I don't know who it's going to be, but it looks like it's Russell Westbrook.
The Knicks, and whoever wins the championship with that team, they're going to be God. So.
Of course.
Yeah, I think it's Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook already came out and said the only two teams he wants to play for is the Clippers and the Knicks. And it's crazy because CP3 said the Clippers and the Knicks too, and he goes to the Suns. But he goes to a good place with Booker and I don't know about the coach over there, but Booker over there and DeAndre Ayton, who a lot of people think that DeAndre Ayton and Booker do not like each other. So it's going to be very interesting. I think CP3 will bring them together, and CP3 is going to a team that's very talented, very talented. Yeah. You saw what he did with OKC last year with an untalented OKC Thunder. Now you're putting him on a team with two closers, guys that can close. You don't even have to be the closer. All you got to do is set them up. So it's going to be fun to watch the Suns play this year. Finally, we'll actually see good basketball in Phoenix.
Yeah, it's a good veteran point guard they've needed for a while, too. Because as good as Booker is, he's more of a shooting guard type. So if he doesn't handle the ball as much, he'll be able to shoot more.
So why don't we get into some football? What do you want to talk about in football? I know Jeff had his thoughts about the Cowboys, and he said, finally, we have no talk about these. Well, he said the effing Cowboys. So I almost said it, but he said the effing Cowboys. So what are your thoughts?
He doesn't know anything about football, so it's fine. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts with the Cowboys this year? They're still in a playoff race. They're still in a playoff race.
Still in the playoffs. Freaking a cat could be in there and be in the playoffs. I mean, come on. That division is just terrible.
It is.
I mean, the Cowboys have injuries. They have no offensive line. All their offensive linemen are out. Well, their defensive players got hurt. The quarterback is hurt. I mean, what do they have? They have nothing.
They got to fire. They got to fire their coach.
No, they're not firing the coach. He's not the coach. When you don't have players on the field, it doesn't matter what coach you are. You're not going to win.
So, wait a second. Mike McCarthy, and we remember Mike McCarthy on those Green Bay Packer team. How many defenses were good with Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, but
maybe
three. And Aaron Rodgers.
3 in 14 years. Now the Cowboys. The Cowboys spent all that money on Jalen Smith and Ezekiel Elliott and all these defensive Lawrence and all these players that they're highly overpriced.
And then one of their right tackles is out for the year. I mean, come on.
So you think
they overpaid for too?
So you think because there's one or two players,
Lyle Collins, you're talking about, they overpaid him.
No, they did not pay overplay. He was one of the best right tackles in football. Come on.
He was up and down throughout his career, though.
No, he was not.
You're talking about the Cowboys right tackle, right?
Yeah.
He's all right.
Yeah,
He's good.
What about Frederick, the best center in the league, just decides to retire?
Well, he wasn't the best center in the league when he retired. He was like maybe a top 6.
He was still up there.
He was a 6 or 7, but he wasn't a top center. I mean, there are a lot of good centers in the league.
In the game.
Yeah,
he was one of the best.
He was one of the best.
Your offensive line is very old, and it's hurting, and they lost a lot of guys.
And you know how long it's going to take to develop that line again? I mean, it's going to take a long time.
That's why I want them to lose every single game.
All right, so how many good offensive linemen are coming out of this year's draft? Not a lot.
I don't know.
There's
not that many, but
this was the class. This was the class to get an offensive lineman.
So, and that's what they'll probably wind up doing.
They need a lot on defense, though, too.
They need a lot. Their secondary is horrendous. Yeah. Their secondary is horrendous. And they need.
The secondary was horrible.
It's not the safety. You keep saying the safety. It's not the safety position. You were going to give up CeeDee Lamb for McKinley, okay?
McKinney. Who hasn't played yet this year.
You were going to trade arguably one of the best young wide receivers in the league for McKinney, who hasn't even played all season long and might not be any good. So you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. When you said that was out. That was just as bad as Ezekiel Elliott running behind Barry Sanders' offensive line.
You'll see.
No, you'll see. Right now, CeeDee Lamb is all around. He's been the best wide receiver in this wide receiving class in his rookie season. He's been the best one. Who's been better than him?
Well, when they've had competent quarterback play.
Yeah, but
we give them a pass for having to deal with Ben DiNucci and whoever else they've had the last couple of weeks.
They have no quarterback. I mean, it's crazy. The whole team just needs to. I don't think they need to rebuild. They just need a couple of pieces. And like I said, they're missing their biggest piece, and that's their quarterback.
Do they make a run for Sam Darnold in the offseason? That'll be interesting.
So.
That'll be interesting because you still have him for 2 years.
Here's another interesting point. I mean, well, it's not a point, but it's probably never going to happen. But let's just say that, I mean, the Jets win 3 games and the Cowboys somehow wind up getting the number 1 pick. Do they go after Trevor Lawrence?
The Jets are not winning 3 games.
The Jets are not your only threat to that, Mike.
But what if that was to happen?
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen because you also have to deal with Jacksonville.
If it does, they draft Trevor Lawrence. They're not even going to think twice. They're going to draft Trevor Lawrence like every other team is going to.
And then just going to let go of Dak to say Dak, goodbye, Dak.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Are you kidding me? You get Trevor Lawrence, you'll say sayonara to Dak. I mean, you're getting arguably one of the most talented quarterbacks to come out of a draft class.
I know the Jets aren't winning 1 game this year, but I'm saying if that was to happen.
No, I could see the Jets trading. I could see the Jets trading out of that pick, and if the Cowboys want Trevor Lawrence, they're going to have to give up a boatload of picks. I mean, I'm talking about maybe the next 4 years of first-round draft picks. If they really want Trevor Lawrence that bad, the Jets might oblige them. You know, the Jets might oblige them.
I mean, Jacksonville's also 1-8 too, right, or something? Aren't they like what? Don't they have only 1 win also?
What are you talking about?
Jacksonville, yes.
Yep. Yes. Mm-hmm. Jacksonville has 1 win.
They won the first week of the season.
So they're in the mix too. Right?
If the Jets win 1 game and they win, Jacksonville gets the number 1 pick.
Oh, Jacksonville gets the number 1 pick.
So. Yes. If the Jets and Jacksonville end up with the same record, Jacksonville gets the number 1 pick.
Actually, well, the Jets should have 2 wins. I mean, they had Buffalo beaten and they had New England beat.
Yeah, you could say the same thing with Jacksonville too. They were close in a lot of games in the beginning of the season.
And I think the Jets are being very smart and very, very strategic with the Sam Darnold situation because.
Yeah, but what I understand, you listen to all these people say, "Oh, these players are playing the tank." These players don't go out there to tank.
No, they don't.
They go out there to play competitive. And you listen to all these people, "Oh, they should tank. They should tank."
Now,
players don't want to lose games.
Douglas trading away pieces. He's trying to tank, but the players on the field, they're not trying to tank.
But you listen to all these players. Oh, they should try and tank. No one wants to try and tank. No one wants to try and lose. So
none of the Jets are tanking. None of them.
But when you look at you just look at the Cowboys and how bad they just injuries just kill the team. It just what happens.
Well, I also think when you look at the Cowboys, the Cowboys have no quarterback. Their problems with the secondary is huge. I mean, I don't think anybody realizes how bad their secondary is. It's horrendous.
Their front
not as bad as Seattle's, but it's bad.
No, their front seven.
Seattle's probably has more talent though.
It's just their backfield is terrible. They have nothing.
Well, that's because they had no money to pay Jones. They overpaid guys like Lawrence and some of these guys. Jalen Smith. I told you Jalen Smith was a bad move by them. It was really because as much as you say Van Der Esch can't stay healthy, I pay Van Der Esch over Jalen Smith.
You know, Van Der Esch can't stay healthy. You look at his career. Go look at his career.
Smith's had that trouble too, though.
Van Der Esch is 25 years old.
But Mike, Smith's had those problems too, and I know this because
he's been hurt. This is what I said when they drafted him. He's injury prone, and look, he's been hurt every freaking year.
And so
except for his
Smith.
rookie year, I think.
Smith is too. I think he's a slightly better player, but Smith is also injury prone too.
And that's why.
Smith is a better player than Van Der Esch?
I think a little bit better, but not by much.
No way. You're crazy.
No.
Way better player.
Van Der Esch is a better player.
Mike, in terms of the contracts, though, still, you have to factor that in when paying somebody like Jalen Smith, who had an injury problem going into the draft, too. That's why he fell to the second round. Before that bowl game, I wanted the Giants to take him at 10, but obviously that didn't happen, and he was that good of a player, but he was injury prone.
Yeah, well, Van Der Esch is more injury prone than Jalen Smith.
Okay, but they're both injury prone.
I'm
Yeah, but
taking
not
if I'm overpaying somebody, I'm overpaying Van Der Esch. I'm not overpaying Jalen.
It was the
Smith.
same thing. It was the same thing when they took Sean Lee. He got hurt in college all the time, and he got hurt.
But
the
Sean
NFL
Lee,
a lot.
Sean Lee is one of the best linebackers, of our era. I mean, Sean Lee is a
but
border.
he was-
Sean Lee still is a borderline Hall of Famer because because he's very liked around the league, and really he's been a dominant. I think he's a 6-time Pro Bowl player. He was dominant for 6 years. He was a very dominant player. You know what I mean?
But he was also injury prone too.
That's what'll keep him out. But talent wise, he's a Hall of Fame type player.
I don't think it's going to keep him out. I don't. If I seen Davis get in as a running back, I could see I could see. Yeah. I could see other players getting. It's all about if you're liked around the league, and what I've heard is Sean Lee is he's
a stand-up guy.
Very much loved in the league by not only the players but owners and GMs and. I mean, Sean Lee's not retiring. If he leaves the Cowboys, somebody's going to give him another chance to try to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
He's
I think
never
he
won.
only signed a 1 year. I think he only signed a 1-year contract with them.
I could see him going to Tampa. I could see him going to a team that has a Super Bowl contender. And Sean Lee still has he still has a little bit left in him. I still think he could play.
He has a little bit left, but he's not a starter. He's like coming in, on second and third down. So he's not starting anymore.
But he's still a specialist where he's a very unique type linebacker too, where even if he doesn't play all the snaps, not all of these teams have these big physical linebackers and great in coverage like Sean Lee. It's hard to find guys like that. A lot of the guys... I was going to say, a lot of the guys now are speed coverage type guys. So, I mean, it's good for the modern NFL, but you still like to have another weapon like that, a physical type guy like Sean Lee is.
But, I mean, to me, with the Cowboys, the two biggest problems is the offensive line and the secondary. That's their two major issues.
Mm-hmm. And that secondary is not gonna take one player to fix that.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys they have some weapons. If I were the Cowboys in the offseason, I'd trade I trade Gallup. If you can get something, if you can get a 3rd-round draft pick for Gallup, you got him in the 4th round. You're actually you could probably get a 2nd-round draft pick for Gallup.
I mean the way Gallup has been playing lately. I mean he was playing very well. I mean that was Dak's favorite favorite targets at the time.
Oh yeah, he was playing really really well. I think you can get a 2nd or 3rd-round draft pick for Gallup.
Yeah, if the team is desperate, I could see a receiver needing.
Because you got to be. You got to be, because you don't have a lot of money, you're going to have to be very strategic in the offseason on how you're going to move and try to bring players in. If you don't have a lot of – this past year, they only had six draft picks, 6-7 draft picks. This coming year, they're going to have 8 or 9, but they're going to probably be –
No, I'm saying, say they had like the number 2 or 3 pick. Would it be crazy to try to trade that away for a top guy or something?
They're not going to get a 2 or 3 pick.
If they do that, they could also trade it for a lot of draft picks.
What is the Cowboys' record right now?
2-7.
Right now, they're sitting at the 3rd pick. If the season went 10 today, they would get the 3rd pick.
Sure, but again, there also still have a lot of NFC East games left. So
no, I understand. I'm just saying, if the season ended today, right now they're sitting at the number 3 pick.
All right. Well, that also depends on who the number 2 pick is. If it is Jacksonville or the Jets, like we expect, the 2 quarterbacks will go 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
And then the Cowboys.
If you're the Cowboys, do you trade that 3rd pick to get?
If you get a haul back, it's not a bad idea. But remember,
you get like a top corner or
they could get Trevor.
There's a top offensive lineman.
They could get Trevor Lawrence at 3. I mean, if they could trade the Jets the 3rd pick. And their next 3 or 4 first-round draft picks for the next couple of years, and they can get Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. But the Jets are only moving down two spots. They could.
Yeah, but would the Cowboys want to do something like that?
No, first of all, you're giving up your future. I mean,
cash strapped as it is.
Yeah, you're giving up your future for one player. I mean, and the Jets are going to daggle Trevor Lawrence. Trust me, they are. If everybody thinks that the Jets are going to guarantee themselves to getting – Joe Douglas is not going to guarantee nothing. Joe Douglas is going to go into the offseason if he has the number 1 pick, and he's going to say, you know what? I think Sam's the guy for us. He's going to look at the draft. He's going to go to the combine. He's going to watch his pro day. And then slowly but surely, Joe Douglas is not going to tell you until the day of if he's going to draft Trevor Lawrence. And more than likely he will. I don't see him passing up on Trevor Lawrence. I don't think Jacksonville's going to pass up on Justin Fields.
Right. The other interesting wild card to think about is if one of these other quarterbacks in college football get Heisman hype, and maybe you saw it with Baker Mayfield, you saw it with Kyler Murray, all of a sudden their stock rose a ton in that draft, and the Cowboys have that third pick. That could be another valuable pick to trade if another team is desperate for a quarterback.
Well, again, I don't see the Cowboys winning a game for the rest of the year. I really don't.
I think they will. They still have some weird wins.
They got the Vikings. They're not beating the Vikings.
They could beat the Vikings. The Vikings defense is terrible too.
No, they're not going to beat the Vikings. They're not going to beat the Redskins. They're not going to beat the Ravens. They're not going to beat the Bengals. They're not going to beat the 49ers. They're not going to beat the Eagles. And they're going to lose to the Giants in the last game.
Yeah, but there's still some games that are winnable on that. It's not they could beat the Bengals.
Not winning.
They can beat the Bengals. They can beat the 49ers.
And they can beat the Giants too.
They can beat the Giants.
They can beat the Giants too.
No, they're not beating the Giants. No way.
Well, we'll see. I even though the Giants defense has played well, I've seen the Giants go into games and completely look like a deer in the headlights and not play well.
I understand, but the Cowboys have no defense. They have nothing. They have absolutely no.
Well, they have somebody.
Minnesota.
They have
somebody. Defense has been terrible too.
They have somebody that lives with you right now. That's probably hanging out with your dad.
What?
Well, I'm just trying.
You're an idiot.
I'm just trying to hang out with you, man. I'm trying to give you some information.
I mean, we could go play on the Cowboys secondary and make them look better. I mean, that's how bad it is. It's so bad.
So, what outlandish thing?
I don't. Yeah, I don't think. One last thing on the Cowboys. I don't think they should fire McCarthy. They should look for a new defensive coordinator.
They're not going to fire McCarthy this year. But if McCarthy has another season where they don't make the playoffs, McCarthy will be fired.
But you can't put this on McCarthy because he has no.
No, they're not this year. This year they're not. But if McCarthy misses out on the playoffs next year, McCarthy will be fired.
If he has a healthy team next year and he misses out on the playoffs, then yes, he could be gone.
Oh, I believe it, and I'm telling you, you heard me say this. McCarthy won't last past 3 years. He won't last past 3 years because your best player is a running back, and he doesn't fit his offense. Now I've been hearing they could trade him, but if you trade him? What are you going to get back for him, especially with the contract that he's getting? Right. I mean, what are you going to get back for him? A fourth-round draft pick?
Not a lot of teams need running backs.
You know, you're going to get a fourth round for him. You're not going to get back a lot of picks for Ezekiel Elliott because he's making a lot of money and he's not having a good season. So you got to sell him on the high and he's on the low. So
that's why I didn't want to give him all that money. I mean, but
you wanted to give Amari Cooper all that money. I thought you were nuts.
That's what the market was going for, Elliott, and I don't want to give back all that money either. So,
I want to listen.
Every year, someone resets the market.
I think they didn't expect CeeDee Lamb to fall to them, but it was a big mistake giving Amari Cooper $100 million. Because to me, if you knew you were going to get CeeDee Lamb, I wouldn't have given Amari Cooper any of that. That's a lot of money.
But they didn't know they were going to get that, so you can't say that.
No, they didn't. But they knew that they trusted that Gallup was going to be a good player. If you have CeeDee Lamb and Gallup, you have a good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, but no one thought Gallup. I mean, I say Gallup was a good receiver.
You like everybody from the Cowboys. It could be your mother playing running back. You'd be saying, "Oh, she's wonderful."
I said the way he was playing, I said this kid's going to be good. I didn't say he was going to be great, but I said he was going to be good, and he is good. So,
well, he looks good.
What were you going to say now?
Well, I just think it was crazy for Amari Cooper getting the money that he got. Oh. That's just me.
Well, I don't think so. But that's your opinion.
100. You're telling me he should only make $5 million less than Michael Thomas? He's not even anywhere close to the same player as Michael Thomas.
He's still a number one receiver.
Okay, but that doesn't mean he's a top 5 receiver.
I beg to differ. I think he's a top 10 receiver. I think he's the best second tier wide receiver in the league. That's what I think.
That's your opinion.
That is my opinion.
He's still not a top 5 receiver and doesn't deserve to be paid like one.
I would say Amari Cooper is the 10th or 11th best wide receiver. And I'll even say this. He's not even the best wide receiver on his team. So, you laugh, you giggle, I'm telling you he's not.
I still think he is, but that's fine.
All right.
If he is, he's not going to be for much longer because Lamb will grow.
But anyway, so what did you think of that Arizona, the catch in Buffalo yesterday with Hopkins?
Best catch I've seen since Calvin Johnson did the same thing against the Bengals.
Yeah, or Golden Tate.
Was unbelievable.
Or Golden Tate making that catch.
The Hail Mary.
Against the Green Bay Packers.
Catch.
Yeah. Listen, we all know DeAndre Hopkins can jump. I mean, the guy's a fantastic. He did it over 3 guys too, and one of them is one of the best defensive players in the league in White.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he, dude, the chances of anybody doing that or DeAndre Hopkins doing it again is slim to none. I mean, it was fantastic, and he grabbed it out of the air and he held on to it. It was fantastic. It was one of the best catches of the year. It might win best catch of the year in the long run.
Absolutely.
So unless we see something crazy like an Odell Beckham one-hand catch that gets his team into the playoffs, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if DeAndre Hopkins wins the ESPY as best play of the year. So it's fantastic, and everybody knows how good DeAndre Hopkins is. I mean, nobody's hiding that, and everybody knows that the Texans are idiots. O'Brien, that's why O'Brien got fired. I mean,
do you think? Speaking of Texas, do you think J.J. Watt's going to stay?
No. He already said that he's not playing for a rebuilding season. I was very surprised that Deshaun Watson signed that contract. I really was because I know he wants the money. And you're going to take the money, the guaranteed money, because God forbid if anything happens, a.k.a. Dak Prescott. But you saw the Cowboys gave him some money, an extension. Deshaun Watson, I was very surprised because I know he wants out with Houston. He doesn't want to be there. And whoever they bring in, it could be, I'm hearing they might keep Romeo Crennel now as their head coach. That's what I've been hearing. But you've been hearing Eric Bieniemy over there and the Jets. I mean, that's going to be the hot ticket. That's the guy that everybody wants, and he's even Jeff said. I mean, the guy that you want and the guy that you go after in the offseason is Eric Bieniemy, hands down. You do everything you can to bring Eric Bieniemy into your organization. I think the Jets will do that, and I think the Jets have enough attraction with the organization because of the picks that they have and the money that they can spend. I think Eric would. I think he'd look at the Jets because you see Houston don't even have their number 1 pick this year. They gave it up to Miami.
So the Dolphins. So the Dolphins could make the playoffs and pick in the top 5.
Yeah. I mean, the Dolphins could get that tight end, Pitts from Florida. I mean, they're saying he's going to be a top 10 pick as a tight end.
And what do you think about how the Raiders are playing this year?
If their defense can hold, they can be a playoff team. Right now, I think the way it looks, I still trust the Colts or Titans more, the Ravens and the Dolphins at the moment. But if their defense gets more consistent, they could be dangerous for sure.
They have the best tight end in football. That's what I'm going to say. Darren Waller is the best tight end in football. And I don't care what anybody thinks. They want to say Kittles or Travis Kelce. That kid is a beast. He is a beast. Hard to defend.
Gruden's been back, for 2 years?
It's amazing what Gruden has done. Mm-hmm. He was away from football for 10 years as an analyst. Everybody says he was
how good of a coach he is.
Oh, he's a great coach. That's why he got $10 million a year. He's the highest paid coach in the NBA, the NFL. The reason why he's getting
amazing. It's just amazing how fast he turned them around within 2 years.
Well, it's him. It's the GM. What's his name again?
Mayock.
Mayock has been good.
But it has to do a lot with Gruden too. So.
Oh yeah.
They drafted well, and Derek Carr is becoming a star again. I mean, Derek Carr is an MVP candidate. He's a top 5 MVP. So is Kyler Murray. I mean, we're talking about Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes. I mean, all 5 quarterbacks are up for the MVP. I think all 5 of them. Even Josh Allen is going to be up for it, too.
If he could be a little more consistent, he probably would be in there. I would also throw just 2 running backs. I would throw Dalvin Cook in there and Alvin Kamara.
Dalvin Cook will not win the MVP because they're not a good team.
Right?
And Alvin Kamara, Alvin Kamara could be a big pick, but they're not going to give it to a running back.
Probably not. I'm just saying I would throw them in the mix too.
Because I could throw a defensive player there too.
Yeah,
Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's been a beast. I mean, there's been good defensive players.
I think if Patrick Mahomes didn't have the season he had
even
2
Garrett,
years,
Myles Garrett has been fantastic.
If Patrick Mahomes didn't have the season he had 2 years ago, I think Aaron Donald should have won MVP. 20.5 sacks for an interior defensive lineman like that is insane.
Now, what Drew Brees has with the fractured ribs and the collapsed lung, who's the clear favorite in the NFC?
I still think the Saints.
I still think the Saints too, because
he's going to come back. He'll miss 5-6 weeks with a collapsed lung. Usually it takes about 5-6 weeks to heal. The only thing that scares me about them is Tampa wins the division. They have home field advantage again, which then you have to go as a team all the way to Tampa. You know,
So you still think New Orleans is going to the Super Bowl?
I didn't pick New Orleans to go to Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're still the most well-rounded team, though. They're them and the Buccaneers, maybe Arizona in the mix too. They're the only three teams right now in the NFC that don't have an obvious
who'd you pick
weakness.
for the Super Bowl? Who would you pick for the Super Bowl?
I still have the Saints.
My sleeper, the Rams.
Really?
Yeah, they're playing good football. They play slowly but surely. First of all, Jalen Ramsey. Everybody keeps saying he's not the best corner in the league. He's not the best corner in the league. Well, if you look at stats right now, he's the best corner in the league. I mean, who's got better stats? How about this? He might not show with the interceptions, everything like that. They don't throw the ball to his side. I mean, they don't even throw the ball to his side. He's that good. And you're seeing that now. You know, the Rams were known as an offensive team. Their strength now is their defense. They're a dominant defensive team. So they're a much better team than they were when they went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Yeah.
So you want to know my honest opinion? If this defense stays healthy, yes, I think the Rams could go to the Super Bowl and actually win this time. Yeah, absolutely. They're really good. They got a really good defense. They have a very good secondary, and their front seven. Tell me who's better than Aaron Donald?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, there's nobody.
No.
You know, so it's in. They're a very well built, oiled machine, and they can knock off the Saints, they can knock off the Buccaneers, they can knock off the Cardinals, they can knock off anybody they play against. So yes, and that's the thing in the NFC. Even Green Bay could go all the way too. I mean,
they got to fix that run defense.
They do. But they can get to the quarterback.
I just don't think they have I don't think Green Bay has the defense to do it. So
they have the pass defense. They just need the run defense to get going. So
they need to clog up the middle. And I was very surprised that when free agency was around, there was a couple of guys that were available.
They got lucky. They got lucky Sunday that they won this game. The Packers.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, really.
They did get lucky.
And
again, that's why, because Jacksonville, they don't want to win any more games because they're hoping that the Jets win. You know, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
The Jets win one game, they get the number one pick. You know, and I think the Jets will do everything they can to, and I know they're not going to try to lose the game. And I know you saw that they didn't try to lose that game against New England. They just lost. Right. I mean, they just flat out lost.
They played. Jacksonville played as hard as they could. The Packers played down to them, and the Jaguars almost pulled it off. But Mike, going back to the Packers, you wonder if the coaching could actually make a difference in terms of them stopping the run, because it worked for the Chiefs last year. The Chiefs were, I think, a 20 or 21st ranked run defense, but they stepped up when they needed to against the Titans and against the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So if the Packers can get that, maybe they'll work, but Mike Pettine's nowhere near the defensive coordinator Spagnuolo is.
Yeah. Well,
I still think Jacksonville wins another game. I still think Jacksonville will win another game. They've been very close the last 2 weeks. And I think, even though their schedule is very difficult, they play Chicago. They could beat Chicago.
Vikings.
They could beat the Vikings. They play the Vikings, too. They could beat both teams.
What's their schedule? So they got Steelers, Browns, Vikings, Titans, Ravens, Bears, Colts.
Mm-hmm. And they can beat either the Vikings or the Bears.
And they can beat the Colts, because the Colts sometimes they don't play to their opponent either. Mm-hmm. And the Colts could have clinched a playoff spot. They might not even play their playoffs. Players in the last game.
Because I know the Browns to me are very up and down. They're not really consistent.
Yeah,
the Browns.
They're one of those teams too that I've said for a while. Like, now they're going to hype them up when they're in a playoff spot. Could they handle that kind of pressure too?
They're 6-3. They're
unfamiliar territory.
And Chubbs is back. And Chubbs is, to me, the best all around running back in football. That's my opinion. Power, speed, ability.
One last question before I go. Who comes out of the NFC East?
I'd probably still say the Eagles, because they're still a good second half team. I really hope it's the Giants, but I still think the Eagles.
What record?
7-8-1.
I think the Eagles, the last two games, the Eagles have the Cowboys and the Washington football team, so the advantage goes to them, but they're not winning both games. If the Giants could pull off a win, in one of these hard games that they have in the next 2 weeks, the Giants win the division. I think the Giants are the better all-around team than the Eagles. I think the Eagles don't have any wide receivers. They're weak in that end. Their defense has not played well this year, which everybody thought was their strength. It has not played well. Their front seven, overpaid front seven. They're not playing well. And Carson Wentz, I think, there's a very good chance.
I told you about him.
It was all because of the injury, man.
Yeah, he's playing with 4 starting offensive linemen hurt. Jason Kelsey's literally the only one healthy.
I could see Carson.
He hasn't looked good since he came back from his injury.
No, he hasn't.
Whatsoever.
But we expected that anyway. We didn't expect him to look this bad.
Yeah.
And that comes with the other injuries from the team.
If Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz might be losing his job. I know they drafted Jalen Hurts. I don't know if they think Jalen Hurts is the guy, but and this is not the class to look for a quarterback. Because it's very top heavy. There's 3 guys, and those 2 guys are probably going 1 and 2. So Justin Fields is going to. If it's Jacksonville, Jets, Jacksonville, unless the Jets. Now, if the Jets get the number 2 pick, I could see the Jets trading out of that number 2 pick and getting the offensive lineman at number 3 or number 4, trading out of that pick to get the offensive lineman, keep Sam for a year, and then if next year a quarterback comes out of that class and Sam's not the guy, they could draft a quarterback out of the other class. Because they got a lot of draft stock, and they could still get 2 first rounds to move up to number 2 to get a quarterback like Justin Fields. So I think the Jets are going to have a lot of advantages to maneuver at their position where they can build draft stock, or if they're at number 1, they draft Trevor Lawrence and they don't even look back. I don't care what Jeff says. You're right. They should trade the pick. They're not going to pass up on a guy that could change your organization for the good. They're just not.
No.
So I don't see Joe Douglas doing that. I don't think he's stupid enough to do that. So and he's done pretty well in the draft so far, what we've seen in his first draft. So I trust in his deliverance of understanding how to build this team. Anyways, Mike, thank you for joining us, bud.
You got it, buddy. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Mike, a.k.a. The Beeve. Yeah, Beavy boy, the Beaver. The Beavy took a dumper, Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back. Yes, we will be back Wednesday, me and Speedy, top guest. I would like to thank Duncan Powell. Very good. Very good interview. Good kid. I'm gonna be rooting for him. I want to see him get into the NBA. I want to be invited to the NBA draft party, and we can dance and shoot a couple of threes. There you go. And he can see me as an Oscar winner to his size.
Nice.
Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Beeve. Until Wednesday, this is Errol Marks and Speedy PD saying good night. We'll talk to you then. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Mark Kelly, for marking up as well. We will talk to you Wednesday. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Setuha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat.